everybody. Don't see anybody chatting just yet. I do see that there are 4 currently watching. Probably give it a few minutes as I usually do to allow anybody and everybody that wants to get in here on the beginning of the movie and not miss any of the movie. So, if you are in doubt about what the movie is for the watch along tonight, it is the original My Bloody Valentine from 1981. And I already have my drink of choice for this one because this is a Canadian horror film. Again, I do have Moosehead. There is Moosehead on tap in the Benningfield household. Um, I already have it open and ready because these aren't twist off caps. So I didn't want to be messing around with that while we were trying to do the commentary. And also, in addition to that, in order to keep me awake, I do have a ghost energy drink. Hey, Texas. So I've got my beverages. I've got the movie. The link to the movie stream is in the chat for anybody and everybody. Again, I want to thank Movie Junkie John for getting me that link. He's the master when it comes to finding those movie links. Used to, I could find them, quickly and easily, but some of these, for instance, My Bloody Valentine, which was a Paramount release. Paramount's kind of persnickety. And somebody does have the full movie online, but it's really, really small. And they had to slow down the dialogue. And it sounds like everybody's on Quaaludes in it, okay? Uh, or been huffing some helium, it just sounds really bad. So, this is a really good HD copy. I did a preview of it to make sure there weren't any cuts. I wanted to make sure this was the uncut version. Texas, you say, what did you think of Joe Bob last night? Well, I was watching Family of the Mall, Eric's Revenge, which to me is an okay movie, but the second feature was necromantic. I told Steve, I was like, poor Joe Bob. I said, he's really having to scrape the bottom of the barrel to get some movies here. Necromantic. I had never seen Necromantic before, and honestly, I was dozing off by that time because it was pretty late. I watched most of Family of the Mall, but I was texting with someone, not sexting, but texting. And so, I've seen Family of the Mall, Eric's Revenge before. I know what it's about. So I was kind of in and out of the room whenever I was doing that. Hey, TJ, you say Joe Bob needs a better wig guy. Yeah, his hair was kind of crazy last night. I don't know what was going on there. So the parts of necromantic that I did see, a woman squatting, taking a pee, the first thing I was like, you know what? I'd heard things about this movie. And then I kind of, I saw the car wreck and the woman got cut in half and basically the guy's eyeball was hanging out or something like that. And I was like, okay, so I know that this is going to be about weirdos having sex with the dead. I was fully prepared for that. But I did not know that and this appeared to be real. Somebody killing a poor little rabbit and then skinning it. And then I don't know, I kind of tried to turn away from it. And I think I fell back asleep at one time. So it was like crisscrossing with somebody skinning a rabbit and somebody doing an autopsy or something. And then the next thing I know, these two weirdos had, I guess they got the man's corpse from the car accident at the beginning, and the woman was like adapting it to have a penis. Because I mean, he was pretty much a skeleton by that point, but I'm pretty sure it was the guy from the beginning in the car wreck because he had, his eye socket looked weird. Um, and so she started screwing him with this fake penis. And I think she even put a condom on it. It's like, what? I don't know if she wanted it to feel more like flesh or what was going on there. And then while she was doing what she was doing and rubbing her naked breast on this corpse, her boyfriend or whoever the other weirdo was like doing her from behind or something like that. And it's like, oh, okay, this is just obviously not my thing. There was nothing really horrific about the movie except the car wreck at the beginning and what happened to that poor rabbit. But the other stuff about screwing corpses, that's definitely not my thing. Um, so Texas, you say I got blissful to watch with me, and thankfully she didn't get pissed at me about necromantic since I had no idea it was going to be on there. Yeah, I had no idea either. Um, TJ, you said necromantic is true exploitation. Saw and Hostel have nothing on movies from that time period. Yeah, and it's German too, right? Some of their stuff, is a little rough. Yeah, or those extreme flicks. Yeah, I agree. Hey, John, you say, hey, Dana, hey, all, watching and cooking bacon and eggs. Bacon and eggs sounds good. Actually, speaking of breakfast foods, and sometimes I like to have breakfast for dinner or whatever. Um, Me and Steve, or I didn't even know we were going to go eat breakfast this morning, but when I got up this morning, Steve had me a very nice Valentine's Day card, which, I thought was lovely. And then he told me that he would take me to breakfast. So we were going to go to Waffle House, I think, but then we decided to go to IHOP. And I got like, at first I thought I was just getting biscuits and gravy, but then I saw it came with 2 eggs, 2 sausage links, and hash browns. And then I got an orange juice. So after eating that, I was full most of the day, which is why I'm drinking Ovaltine or, yeah, it's Ovaltine, malted milk Ovaltine, for my dinner. Because basically I was full all day after I ate that. That was some big, big breakfast. Um, John, you say Joe Bob gets some odd movies on the show. I mean, I think now that he's moved to Shutter, I think, like I've said before, he's at the mercy of whatever Shutter has or whatever Shutter's able to get the license to. And my first thought was when I knew they were going to do this Valentine special was that I saw that the remake of My Bloody Valentine was on there, and I thought, oh, they'll probably show that one. But I was like, what in the hell is this shit when Necromantic came on? Because I didn't even know because the title doesn't come on for a little bit. And I missed where Joe Bob was talking about because, like I said, I was texting with someone last night. And so I missed some of it. And so I was waiting for the title to come up. And like I said, I saw that woman go out in the field and pull down her panties and take a pee. I was like, okay, this is odd, but I stuck with it until I saw the title and I was like, oh Lord, it's this movie. Uh, so I can't honestly say I'm a fan of Necromantic. not in any big hurry to watch that in full. I did like the fact that the couple got married on the last drive-in, and I like that they talked to them and they worked Felissa Rose into the mix and all that. That all that stuff was fun. So Texas, Blissful's a Joe Ball convert now. TJ, you say 90s and early 2000s Monster Vision had some questionable movies. I agree with that. Joe Bob does his best to keep it interesting, at least. Yes, he does. That man has worked his ass off for many years to make some of the most god awful movies at least halfway interesting. So I was hoping that I was really hoping that Uncle Bill and CK would be in here tonight, and they may still show up. I don't know. CK told me that he would try to show up if he was at home. Um, and I believe Uncle Bill said he would try to be here. Um, that's why I'm kind of, yammering on for a little bit to give a lot of people time to get in here. But I probably won't wait too long because now it's 7:15. I mean, we might wait till 7:30ish or something to actually get the movie started. But out of those of you, I mean, I know John's cooking bacon and eggs. He probably can't right now. Um, but those of you that are in here in the chat right now, would anybody be interested in coming on live with me on this? Audio only is fine. Um, John, you say Uncle Rad jumped Uncle Bill in the parking lot, may do a run in. Holy cow. Because I mean, honestly, I really, really enjoy, having at least one person on here with me for these watch alongs because I feel like I'm just as boring as hell, when I do these by myself because I don't have anybody to interact with. I mean, I have you guys in the chat to interact with, but guys, it is getting frankly pretty chilly back here. So, hey, Blissful. I'm going to go turn on my little heater back here so I don't freeze. Steve said it was a little chilly back here earlier, and he just put some pants instead of shorts on, but I'm quite a bit colder. And I still don't know if I'm trying to get a cold or what, because I've had a cough and I've been sneezing, had headaches. I haven't really had a fever or anything, thankfully, but just haven't, I'm kind of feeling off my game a little bit. I'm trying to finish this Ovaltine before I start in on beer because I don't really want to mix and match that kind of stuff. I don't think John and Uncle Bill rumbled, but he said Uncle Rad jumped Uncle Bill in the parking lot, which sounds like a wrestling reference. But anybody else got anything going on or any big Valentine's Day plans that they want that they're free to share or anything? I never really hear, and I'm not trying to get personal with anybody, but I never really hear TJ talk about, relationships. And there goes my phone. So I wasn't ever really sure if TJ had somebody or he was just content being by himself, or it's just him and making movies and or making short films, and now saying he's howling because of my because of my phone going on. But I know Blissful and Texas are together. I know John's married. Uh, so I thought some of you guys might have some Valentine's Day plans, ones that you could share. Texas, you say Blissful will have a big Valentine's present opening on Valentine's Day. Oh, hey, I thought you weren't making her wait till Valentine's Day, Texas. Aw, John, you say, nah, sadly, Becca's in Los Angeles all week on a trip. So it's me and the dog till the 15th. So I'm blasting music and watching bullshit like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. Uh, yeah, he's being mean, not letting you open your packages, Blissful. Texas, you say she was confused. Oh, man. Looks like I'm probably not going to have any surprises on Valentine's Day because Steve's already surprised me. I mean, he got me flowers, just because one day. Um, then he got me a Valentine's Day card, and he took me out to PF Chang's for early Valentine's dinner last weekend. So I think I probably got all my Valentine's Day stuff. Oh, well, taking a relative to their cancer treatment on Tuesday. That's my big V Day plan. Well, at least you're doing a kindness to somebody, TJ, because evidently they wouldn't, request that of you if they didn't need to. But it is a bummer that somebody that you really care about has to go for cancer treatment. And I hope everything goes well with them, and I'll be thinking about them, thinking about you as well. Yes, Blissful. That certainly is a very hard thing to do. So I'm gonna pop open my energy drink. You're welcome, TJ. Yeah, Texas is sorry to hear that, TJ, but that's great. You're helping them out. Yes. We have to all find those bright spots in there somewhere, don't we? So I'm going to take a sip of moose head because we got to kick this off right, guys? Oh, I did want to say that I will be making Valentine's Day or My Bloody Valentine cupcakes tomorrow, like I did last year. The little heart shaped chocolate cupcakes with red icing and the little pickaxes that I created to put into the cupcakes. I mean, they're not to eat, they're not edible, but they're just the pickaxes are for design only. So that'll be part of what I'm doing tomorrow. And I am in the process of, excuse me, redecorating my iguana Toby's enclosure. So I got the idea of putting like fake grass mats on the bottom of his enclosure. And so I had that covered now, and he seems to like it pretty well. He goes down there periodically and kind of sticks his tongue out at the and licks that fake grass, and I think it's going to be a lot easier to clean, because basically when it starts getting warmer, I can take those mats out, spray them off, let them dry out in the sun, bring them back in, put them back down, and we're good to go. But then I got the idea I want to, do a little sprucing up of the inside, the walls and the back of it. And so I had the idea at first to put those rubber mats with the fake grass on the sides and the back wall. Well, Steve and I had Steve take me to Lowe's today just to see what I could find because the other mats that I ordered were from Amazon. But I thought, well, maybe I can pick something up at Lowe's. So um, I did not find those mats, but I found something else that I think is going to be more easily put on the walls of the enclosure. It's not going to be as heavy, and it's more like the for those of you that have had reptiles like bearded dragons and stuff that are in aquariums, a lot of times they suggest you put reptile carpet down, which is just this green, uh, almost felt like stuff. But this was more of a mat. I think Reggie might have come back here. Um, but anyway, so Steve's going to help me when I get ready to do that. And I was able to buy one 6 foot by 8 foot mat for $25 from Lowe's today. I said that's going to be more economical than the other mats. So Steve's going to help me when I get ready to put those up. I'm probably going to have to buy one more mat to finish it up. But we decided we're going to use a staple gun and staple it to the wall, which is made of plywood. So the staples will go through that thin mat into the plywood, and hopefully it should stay up. So, oh, TJ, it is fine. You say, I don't like to talk about that stuff. You usually don't want to bring the chat down. No, that is okay. Sometimes, yeah, like Blissful says, it's good to talk about things so it doesn't bog you down. And that is perfectly right. John, you say, I saw that iguana pic and thought you were at PetSmart or something. Pretty elaborate, cool stuff. Well, thank you, John. I have to give credit to Steve for actually initially putting the enclosure together. He actually built the enclosure based on some plans that I got from the Green Iguana Society. And I'm glad that I got those plans whenever I did because I don't think the Green Iguana Society is a website is around anymore. For whatever reason, maybe somebody just didn't have the time to maintain it anymore or anything. Um, but I was able to get the basic plans for that enclosure, and Steve built it. And then I, of course, did the decorating, putting the fleece on his shelves in there, putting the fake plants in there, and stuff like that. But thank you very much. I appreciate that. TJ, you say you can come in live in a couple of minutes if I want. Yeah, sure. Yeah, just let me know if you need me to repost the link to get into StreamYard backstage. Just let me know and I'll repost that. Hey, Menelect. Blissful, you say reptile house, beautiful. I love it. Blissful, you say I'm trying to redecorate my bedroom. In my 1970s dream, I found a 7 foot beanbag chair. LOL. 7 foot. Wow. That would probably be, well, it'd probably be a little bit too big to, because Toby's enclosure is about, well, I mean, if it was a little bit smaller, he could probably have a great big beanbag in there. I don't know what he would do with it. Probably tail whip the hell out of it. But um, his enclosure is basically 7 foot tall, and each one of the doors I think is about 3 feet wide. So I'd say it's about 7 by 6. Um, so it takes up most of there's TJ, he's the adult miner. um so yeah, basically his enclosure is 7 foot tall by 6 foot wide. It takes up a lot of space in that room. So I'm going to go ahead and add TJ here real quick. Oh wow, TJ's got everything. He's got his miner mask and everything. He's set up for this. You got a pickaxe too, TJ? No pickaxes. But he does have one of those. That's one of those tiny chairs, isn't it? Oh, wow. I don't even have that one. What I do have, I don't know if I can get it down. Maybe I'll try to get it down for you guys. What I do have is the NECA one, the My Bloody Valentine miner. I do have that one, which I'm going to put him back up there. He's kind of, oops, I knew something was going to fall off. That's what happens every time I touch something. My Darky the Mail Girl sticker basically fell down. So I also see TJ's got a boo bucket back there. Is that the only boo bucket you have? He probably got them all. Good Lord, how long can you wear that thing before you got to come up for air?
I mean, it's ventilated. I mean,
Is it very tight though?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm sure I can loosen it, but it's an old one, so I didn't want to rip the plastic or rubber or whatever. Very messy.
So Darren's saying, Dana, can you give us a few minutes? Yeah, Darren, are you wanting to come on live too? If you are, that is awesome. Because it might just be me, you, and TJ in here. But I think we can. Ooh, cherry jelly hearts. Awesome. I had some of those, the conversation hearts, like a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I've already finished those off. But like I said, I'm going to make my cupcakes tomorrow with the pickaxes in them.
I'm wearing my Love and Robots t-shirt.
Oh, cool. I've got my Bloody Valentine Fright Rag shirt on.
Yeah, I got my Bloody Valentine hoodie. So.
There you go. So Darren is evidently going to come on live here. So I'm going to go ahead and put that invite in there again so he won't have to go searching in the chat for it. So, like I said, I don't know if CK and Uncle Bill, I can't even talk. I ain't even had a loose head and I still can't talk. CK and Uncle Bill, I don't know if they're going to show up or not. They both told me they would if they could. Actually, CK told me if he was at home, so he might be out on the road doing something. Maybe him and Sarah went out for some kind of early Valentine's Day thing. Uncle Bill might be doing the same with Savannah. They might be out, maybe they took their significant others out to eat or something. John, you say a friend of mine on our podcast posted favorite Valentine's Day horror on Instagram on a poll. I was like, dude, what choices are there? He's a Valentine 2001 fan. Ah, gotcha. I like that one okay. I haven't yet rewatched that for the season, but I did. I have to watch My Bloody Valentine from 1981. That's a given. I have to do that. But I also did watch X-Ray, which is another good one with Barbie Benton. She gets embroiled in the craziness of this guy trying to kill off everybody around her to get to her. When she just goes to the hospital to get some test results for insurance, and she's just got a promotion, and she gets this must be the craziest hospital on the planet. Have you seen that movie, TJ?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about when when I say this must be the craziest hospital ever. It has the weirdest people in here, and evidently it's not like it's the psych floor or anything, but where did all these weird people come from? You got the drunk guy going around, showing up in the elevator, dripping ketchup on Barbie Benton's shoes. You got the three weirdo ladies, one of which I don't know about you, TJ, but those three old ladies that are in the room with her, doesn't one of them look strangely like a man?
I don't
Or is
remember
that
exactly. I haven't seen it for a while. But
gotcha? Well, if you go back and rewatch it, take a look at those three old ladies and see if one of them looks like a man to you, or if I'm just totally off base of this. Um,
well, in movies, it's either crazy or it's like Halloween 2, where there's like there's
oh
there's
yeah,
nobody
there's
in a hospital, like nobody,
no,
like that. That doesn't happen. That's not reality.
no. Yeah, you either got a bunch of crazy people or you got no people, except for the hospital staff.
Or it's like Grey's Anatomy, where the stuff that happens, I don't know where that happens in real hospitals, all that stuff. Go to an on-call room and you see people having sex. I don't know if that actually happens, but
Yeah. John, you say, "Oh, right, that's set during Valentine's Day." Never mind. I just didn't think many were set during that. Yeah, there's not a whole lot, and that's mainly why I did that Valentine's Day extra credit stream where Uncle Bill was on there with me. And, I was talking about all kinds of stuff. Candyman. I was talking about Fatal Attraction, just anything that would have to do with relationships, albeit usually twisted, obsessive relationships. I even talked about Christine, where there was not a love triangle, there was a love square because there were three people in a car, you know. So
you missed Necromantic for that one.
I saw enough of Necromantic last night. Jeez Louise. So I'm gonna go ahead and add Darren here. Hey Darren.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good. I saw a shadow back. I guess maybe that was Reggie. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get started here in a couple of minutes or so. I'll give it another couple of minutes. But if anybody, I just want to say this, and if I don't see in the chat, and you guys that are on the stream with me see that somebody's put in the chat that they want to join online, or notice somebody backstage and I don't notice them, feel free to say, "Hey Dana, there's somebody else backstage," or somebody else wants to come on. So sometimes I get a little embroiled in the movie and forget to go back to the chat. Sometimes I get to talking about the movie and forget totally about it. So TJ, Darren, how are you guys watching it? Are you going to be watching it from the stream, or have you got your own copy to watch? It's queued up.
I've got the Steelbook.
Okay, so Darren's got the Steelbook.
Yeah, I'm watching it from the link. My friend had it, and I had it in my house for like 2 years and never watched the. And then I finally gave it back to him, and I was like, "Oh, if I had it for this week, that would have been fun." But no.
Yeah, Yep. So I used to lend out my movies back when I was still living with my parents. I had neighbors down the road from me,
Yeah.
and I had to stop that because they were good about it at first. Like they would borrow some from me at Halloween time. They would come and go back to where my movie room was, where I had all my movies. And they just were like a freaking video store, only they were getting these things for free. They weren't having to rent them.
Yes.
And they would say, I want that one, that one, that one, that one. And I would let them take them unless I was planning on watching them. And so they were real good for a little bit. For like a couple of Halloweens, they were good about getting them right back to me. And they were in decent shape. And then they borrowed my Salem's Lot and claimed that they didn't borrow it. And also the ones they did return to me looked like somebody had been kissing all over the disc with lipstick on. And I didn't know what that was all about, but I didn't really care to find out either. So I had to stop that and not offer to let them do that anymore.
Yeah, that's happened to me quite a lot in the past. I borrowed like numerous, like rare sort of limited stuff and just never got them back. So I just don't bother no more. If
Yeah,
someone wants a film, I'll just say, oh, I'll copy it on disc for you, like, and
exactly.
leave it at that.
That's a safer way to do it. TJ, you say that married couple, Joe Bob Mary, will always remember Necromantic. Yeah, exactly. They will never be able to forget that movie. Hey, Afro. You say love and light to everyone. My Bloody Valentine. Yes. Yes, we are going to have a My Bloody Valentine bonanza here.
So we're watching the remake now.
Well, I mean, it's not that the remake was horrible or anything, but I just tend to gravitate more towards the original. That's my go-to.
The remake
I
has
think, yeah.
nudity.
Well, yeah. I
A
saw the
lot of
remake
nudity.
in the cinemas, and in the 3D. I was with my nephew. I was, and I sort of enjoyed it up until the ending. I thought was a bit of a cop out, and as for the gore, and you get to see Tom Atkins and that, I thought it was reasonable enough. It's better than, I would say, like the Texas Chainsaw one, or obviously the Evil Dead or Friday the 13th.
Oh yeah,
It's not great, but it's okay.
It's passable.
Yeah.
It's passable for me. Yes, Afro, you most certainly can watch your own copy. We'll try to get you queued up as best that we can. John says, I forgot I had 1931 Dracula in college and racked up a Hollywood video bill. Never paid it. It was an accident. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people did that, rented things and set it to the side and just totally forgot about it. I mean, I worked in libraries for a lot of years and people came up with all kinds of outrageous excuses of why they didn't return things. I know my first library job, I don't know if I told this story before, but I was a circulation clerk then, which meant I checked books and other material in and out to people. But we also had to notify people when they had overdues. So I kept trying to get a hold of this woman because it was my job for a while to call people about overdues. Let me tell you, that's fun. That is fun. You will hear every excuse in the book and some of the most outlandish excuses. Also, you will find very strange things used as bookmarks in books, but that's another story for another day. But in this particular time, we kept trying to get a hold of the lady and she never would return the book. And then finally I was checking the book drop one morning and there, lo and behold, was that book with the dollar that she owed stapled about 5,000 times to the overdue notice that she had also thrown in there with the book. And she had written a note on there. I'm a taxpayer like everybody else. I don't know why she thought that gave her the right to keep a book as long as that she wanted. And she said, but if you want your book back, here it is. So
Well, she's
I
pleasant.
had fun taking all the staples out of that dollar bill just so we could put it in, with the other money, with the other overdue money. So, yeah, it's fun times at the library, let me tell you.
That's why I hate people.
That's why you hate.
Yeah. I've worked in retail and tell me, like, some people are just unbelievable, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, not good at all.
And then, when I got to Louisville, I never worked at the St. Matthews branch. I never got, asked to go there and work. But somebody that I worked with at one of the other branches did. And he said, that place is unbelievable, because I don't know how many people are familiar, at least in the Kentucky area, with the St. Matthews area of Louisville, but it's a very ritzy area. There are a lot of rich people in that area. The women carry Coach purses, which, if that tells you anything about, if they're willing to spend that kind of money on a purse, I've seen the prices of those Coach purses. So this guy was telling me, he said, this is unbelievable. He said, when I was over there, these women would come in with their Coach purses, dress fit to kill, and I would tell them they had like a 15-cent fine, and they would stand there and argue with me about they didn't want to pay 15 cents. It is just insane. Let's see. No, Afro, you are certainly not late, by the way. You say, I love how this is a Paramount movie. They need shiz like this to climb back to glory. Yeah, but they wanna shit all over movies like this and Friday the 13th, which, I'm sorry, but I think movies like that are what made Paramount popular. The one good thing I can say about New Line Cinema is they didn't shit all over Freddy Krueger in the Nightmare on Elm Street series. They embraced it. They actually said that it was the house that Freddy built.
Yeah.
They were never shy about saying that. But Paramount just wants to act like they're better than these very popular horror films generally that they were putting out. And it started with Friday the 13th, and it just, well, something just fell, didn't it?
It just fell on the floor.
And it's my Darcy the Mail Girl that just fell. See, I told you guys, if I took something off of this shelf, then everything possible would fall off there. And I think that the Darcy the Mail Girl sticker fell off again. I may have to find it later, because I don't even know where the hell it went right now. Oh, there it is. Right at my feet. Maybe it'll stay up here now. I hope. So
no editing.
Yeah, that's okay. I got my phone sort of propped up again like I did before, but so if it kind of goes like that and falls, I'll still be here. I'll still put it back. Hopefully, I'm not drunk, so hopefully I stay okay this time.
Darren's all sober. He's straight and sober.
I haven't had a drink since New Year, so.
Who's the worst drunk, Darren or Dana?
Gotta be me, I'd say.
I don't know about that. Darren, were you at the hell? I don't remember who all was at that Champagne and Bullets watch-along where I.
Oh yeah, I seen it. Yeah.
And absolutely, I don't know what I was thinking. I will never do that again.
Maybe we'll call it a draw then between the two of us.
I'm embarrassed all over the place about that. I was like, what got into me? What possessed me to do something so stupid?
I'm happy to remind you.
Maybe because Dirk kept like giving giving Dead Pit like super chat money every time I would take a shot. I don't know.
I don't know. It just seems like a good idea at the time, and then you wake up the next day and you think, "Oh fuck, what the hell did I do?" Yeah.
Well,
No.
when you're sick almost all the next day, you know you did a really stupid thing.
Now, Dana, someone did a super chat for you to jump off a bridge, would you?
Probably that night I would have with a shot glass of Fireball whiskey. Yeah. Let's see. John says the mid 2000s, everyone was ripping them to DVD-R and returning them. Oh, Steve did that in the big days of Wild and Woolly here in Louisville, the big video store. Unfortunately it's closed now, but that's what he used to do. He would rent something for the weekend, take it home, rip it, take it back, and he, I don't think he ever watched the actual rental movie. He would just rip it and then take it back when it was time.
Oh God, I used to do that back in the 80s with two VCRs set up and copy tapes that way.
Oh my
God! You got them there,
I can't even begin to tell you how many I did.
Yeah.
If they were to arrest everybody that did that, we'd all be going away for a long time.
Exactly,
well, then they had some of the VHS tapes where it had a block, so you couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it would make it look shitty whenever you did it.
The picture would just go all funny and it was a nightmare.
They caught on, they knew what people were doing at home,
It was only for like certain titles that was as well. It wasn't for everyone.
It seemed like the bigger titles did that, not the
I remember like Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff like that. Yeah.
What was that called? Was that Macrovision? Was that Macrovision stuff that was supposed?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
So John says DVD shrink. That's a deep cut for you nerds out there. Exactly. I remember. I think I still got DVD shrink on my computer too.
Yeah, I think everyone had
that. Texas, you say I worked in retail almost 20 years. The stories about morons I can tell. Yeah, we could probably share a lot of similar stories. People don't think sometimes that working in a library, you're going to run into that craziness. But anytime you're working in customer service, look out.
The thing is, they tell you as well, don't they? The customer's always right, and you just got to bite your tongue half the time and just put up with it. But
yeah, I bit my tongue so many times I almost bit it off. Because it's been so crazy. Blissful was a waitress for 7 years. Yes, I bet that was interesting. I was a dishwasher at a local restaurant. That was a very early job for me. Didn't work there very long, but yeah, that was fun. Not really. I wouldn't recommend it.
Food places are the worst retail if you're like a server or something. So, those people, they have a lot of tolerance to work a job like that.
Yeah.
I'd be like, your steak's not cooked enough? Well, fuck you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're like, I always tell Steve, I say, Steve, I love you, but you are not a people person. You do not need to work in customer service. And he would have to agree with me now. After years of working a call center, basically, and having to deal with people on the phone, which can be a nightmare sometimes, honestly.
I think the older you get, the more tolerant you get of it. But yeah, many a time I've been wanting to
no.
Back
I think the older I get, the more cynical and
Oh, right, the opposite, yeah.
Yeah, and more frustrated I get with people.
I get fed up with people a lot easier now that I'm older than when I was young.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I lose my patience real quickly now. Apollos, you say, I think I like Paramount now because it is one of the only film studios not owned by Disney. That's a good point to bring up.
You look at what they did with April Fool's Day as well. They didn't market that film at all very well.
No.
I think it's only up until like the last few years that they've given it a decent, Screen Factory give it a decent release. But nah, Paramount were terrible, terrible company.
No, the first copies of Friday the 13th that they put out, like on DVD, it was pitiful. I mean,
I think we got the uncut version, and you got the cut version. I think in America on DVD.
I think so. I think so originally, yeah. So Texas said, I was always taping movies of cable or off of cable or dubbing Japanese wrestling and tape trading. Oh yeah, there was a lot of that, tape trading and things like that going on. I was thinking in the back of like Fangoria when they used to have like those one ads, I was thinking that people used to do VHS trading through that. Does anybody else remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Used to be able to get all the video nasties as well before, they were pretty much impossible to get hold of. But then when you did, they'd be like 9th generation. I remember watching Cannibal Holocaust and thinking, Christ, this looks real, because it did, on a fuzzy screen. So probably the better way to watch it, But yeah, that was the only way to get them back then. You had to pay through the nose as well. You had to pay some serious money.
Yeah, I think the first time I saw Body Count, that movie that has David Hess on it, which is a really, in my opinion, that's a pretty decent like slasher type of movie. I don't think Steve much cares for it like I do, but the first time I got a hold of a copy of that movie looked like shit. But I watched it and I enjoyed it. Because that was the only way I could get it at that point in time was that very shoddy looking VHS copy.
That's still to come out, isn't it, on Blu-ray or DVD in America, maybe? Because I know we got like a shitty Region 2 DVD of it, which is cut, I think, if I remember rightly.
Oh, well, that sucks.
That would be perfect for Blu-ray, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would. It definitely would. Apollo says, I watched The Evil Dead for the first time on a recorded VCR tape, which made it even more gnarly than the official copy. I could almost taste it if it makes sense. That makes total sense, Apollos. It does.
Yeah, Texas Chainsaw was another like that. Watching it like back in the early 80s is just terrifying. Still is now, even in the cleanup version. But yeah, some good times.
Mm-hmm. I sometimes wish we could go back to that, because that really, if you think about it, that was the heyday for these types of films, just because of the way you had to watch them. Being able to score a third generation VH rip of one of these movies that we've just been talking about, that was a gold mine. That was an absolute gold mine.
That was the only way you could see Argento uncut back then. Was Japanese laser disc transferred to VHS or whatever. And then they started.
Yeah, wasn't it? Tenebrae. Yeah, I think Four Fries on Grey Velvet was pretty much impossible to get back then for a long time. Even
because there was never an official release of it, really.
That's right. Yeah. So even up until like 10, 12 years ago, that was still quite hard to get hold of, even on like a VHS rip or just a normal badly produced rip. But thankfully enough now it's out now. But I still need to get that. I don't know whether they're gonna reissue that in a different version and sell it like at a cheaper price than what they've been doing, because it's limited. Do you know anything about that? If they got any plans to do that?
Not really.
I would imagine they will, wouldn't they? Oh yeah,
$60 right here. $60 right here.
Do you know what? I was close to pulling the trigger and I didn't, and I'm regretting it at this moment in time. But because on eBay, they just go
and Uncle Bill and Steve and.
Do you blame Jerry too?
Everybody who was talking about it and either ordered it that night when it was released or whatever. Yeah.
I don't think Steve even ordered it. I don't believe he even ordered it. He might have talked it up, but I don't.
Yeah, I think me and Steve
Yeah,
held
right.
off, but we were hoping it'd come back out, you know, in maybe a different release or something. But yeah, keep on to that because it's going to be worth.
Yeah, I haven't even
of
opened
money.
it because I have a DVD from that weird company who put out Fort Flies a couple of years ago or whatever it was.
Yeah. I've got that one as well. I think
Yeah.
I got it on DVD.
Does anybody
still-
want this movie? Because it's terrible.
I think I'll pass.
I hate this movie so much.
What's that? The Gallows. Oh, I
It's terrible.
fucking
I hate
hate
it
that film
more
as well.
because of the kids. They were kids who directed it because they were so like, well, we saw our movie, The Blumhouse, and we're great directors now. I'm like, the movie's not good, guys. It's just,
It's
they
horrendous,
bought
that
it
film.
cheap, and then they did a little bit of promotion when it came out, and that made a lot of money because Blumhouse put it out. Yeah. If you watch the guys who directed it, and I think they directed like maybe one of the like a sequel, and like I don't even think they did anything else besides that. It was just like, yeah, guys, okay, that's cool. I mean everybody wishes that a company would say, hey, let me buy your movie and distribute it and make you some money. I mean, but to go like, well, no, it's the greatest movie. No, it's not. The movie's not good.
I was gobsmacked when I first saw that because I was sitting down expecting to see like, you know, a really good slasher it's advertised everywhere.
The
And I
characters
even
are
bought
terrible. Like, you don't like any of them. I don't know how.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah.
I even bought the poster before I seen the movie.
The best
Thinking,
part of it is
it
that
looks-
one scene where Kathy Lee Gifford's daughter is the girl who gets pulled away, and
yeah.
that's the only good scene. They had shot the movie once, and then they Blumhouse wanted them to change some stuff, so they reshot it. And the original girl who played that role, they didn't want her back for some weird reason, so they hired a new person. And even that version, the characters are even worse. Like, I'm like, how do these characters are not likable? Why? None of them are. I mean, even the ones you're supposed to be sympathetic towards are like, I'm like, what are you? Die now. The movie should have been over in 2 minutes. They all should have died.
Yeah. It's so shoddily directed as well. It just looks awful, though.
Yeah.
My aunt just messaged me on Facebook. She's wanting me to come to her apartment and do something. It's like, that's going to be up to Steve. If Steve says no, I ain't going to be able to go anywhere, because when you don't drive, you're dependent on somebody else to take you back home to do things. So I'm going to have to get back with her on that. I think The Gallows is familiar to me. Maybe because we watched it. I don't know. I have no. Maybe somebody else said it was shitty or something. That's why that movie is like in my brain. But I think we'll go ahead and get started here before it gets any later. And if, like I said, if anybody comes in later, old Curly Jaws, CK, Uncle Bill, any of those people want to join in, I mean, they can. I mean, now if there's like 2 seconds till the movie's over, that might not be good. But if there's plenty of time left in the movie, then yes. So I've got mine queued up to the very beginning of the stream that John provided from the Internet Archive, which again, this is a very good HD version that somebody has put on here. So I'm at the black screen before the Paramount logo is the best I can say. So it's right at the very super beginning. So when everybody is queued up and can let me know when they're queued up, Darren and TJ, when you're queued up and ready.
Yeah, I'm queued. I'm
queued and Ard and STUV.
All the way to Z. So for those of you that are in the chat that are going to be watching, is everybody queued up and ready to go? I'll give you about a minute or so to to let me know, and then we'll go ahead and get started. If people come in later, they can always grab a timestamp. That's usually what people do. So I'll give it to 8:04, and then we'll go ahead and get started, so as not to delay the fun any longer. Because I've really been looking forward to this one. You know, I missed last Saturday. Steve claimed he wanted to spend some time with me and didn't want me going back here to do a watch along. So I delayed my watch alongs a little bit. We didn't do jack. So
yeah, sometimes shit happens, don't it, like that?
Yeah. And so I said, well, Steve, I said, I'm just going to go back on the regular schedule for these watch alongs. You know, because I have fun with them. I have fun hanging out with all you guys and whoever's live on the stream with me. So it is now 8:04. So I'm not seeing anybody saying hold up in the chat. So we're going to go ahead and do 3, 2, 1. Press play. And like I always say, if you guys that are live on the stream with me, if you want to have your sound going, that's perfectly acceptable. I do not mind.
Shit, I wasn't planning on that, but George Mahalka's doing an introduction. So
oh yeah, I forgot about
So
that.
that's on the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
So
Never mind.
do you guys want me to pause it a little bit till after George Mahalka is done?
Yeah, I'm on the Paramount logo now, so
Okay.
I don't know. Sorry to be a pain.
Oh, no problem. I totally forgot about the George Mahalka introduction. So I'm like 37 seconds in.
Right.
I'm up to special guest appearance by Don Franks.
Yeah, that's good enough. I can get that.
Okay.
So I'm on Laurie Hallier now.
I'm on co-starring Keith Knight and Al Humphreys. Well, now I'm up to Cynthia Dale and Terry Walker.
Yeah,
we're close. We're in the same vicinity.
We're talking seconds, so it should be.
Yeah,
right.
just a matter of seconds. And speaking of Keith Knight and Al Humphreys, who have both passed away, in addition to Paul Kelman, like we've lost, 3 pretty big characters from this movie, sadly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Paul Kelman, I believe, did do a commentary for this.
Yes, he
on
did.
Pizel's channel on YouTube, if anyone wants to check out it. But yeah, what's you two guys' first viewing of this? Can you remember, or your thoughts on it?
TJ, you want to go ahead and go first?
Yeah, I can't. I think I saw it on TV, cable. I think I saw it like on Cinemax. That's probably on Cinemax because that's where most of the horror movies I remember was on Cinemax. Yeah, I was watching everything that I could get my hands on back then. So any slasher movie, any horror movie. I liked it. It was a different kind of slasher movie. I didn't think about it till a little later that they were teenagers, which was very different than most slasher movies, and they were like working class people.
Yeah.
So that made it a lot different than bunch of teenagers and we're goofy and we're gonna live. And that's another thing too. When you have the slasher movies, it's these young kids who are like they have their whole life ahead of them, and they're like, no one thinking someone's gonna try to kill them. So I mean,
right.
Yeah.
But this is like these are more mature people with more mature life experience and stuff like that. And I think that adds something to the characters because they're not just stereotypical cookie cutter characters. That's kind of what I like most about this. Also, the kills are pretty brutal in this movie. Even the uncut versions, just what you don't see, but you know the outcome, and it's just like there's some brutal stuff in this movie. Like this kill right here is.
Yeah, exactly. You know, for some reason, I'm thinking that I was
Title. Okay.
a little bit delayed on watching this, maybe than most people. A late discoverer of this movie, and I believe the first time I saw it, I rented it. And then from then on out, like I said before, that became a staple for me on Valentine's Day or around Valentine's Day to watch it. But I totally agree with TJ about saying that this is different because these are mature people. These are working class people. These are guys that work hard in the mines, and then, you know, they've been all night in the mines, and then the next day they're going to meet their women, you know, and they're going to have a beer or whatever. And, you know, these are more adult characters than we were used to seeing, especially at this time period.
Exactly, they're more real. The characters, even the killer, is more real than obviously Jason. And although, yeah, obviously, you know, Jason back in the early Friday the 13th films is supposed to be a normal boy, but I don't know, you know. But yeah, this film I think I saw first really when it first came out on, you know, rented it on video. And it was one of those infamous titles like you got this, you got Happy Birthday to Me, all coming out right about the same time. And I just lapped it up. I just loved any slasher film I could get. Like TJ, I could get hold of. I was watching. I'm just lapping it up. And this is got to be in my top, I'd say, 3 slashers of all time. Along with, say, The Burning and The Funhouse, I'd say in my top 3.
Mm-hmm. And two, I think that I want to see what you guys think too. I think the Canadians were a lot better at making horror films or slasher films at this point in time than we were in the United States.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know.
They look different too. They're grittier looking, even though they all use film and stuff. It's just the landscape of Canada. Just like you can tell when something's not shot in America compared to Canada. Like just like Friday the 13th Part 8. I mean, yeah, Friday the 13th Part 8 was filmed in Canada mostly. You could tell it does not look like. Yeah. I don't know why it's darker.
Jason Takes Vancouver, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but for me, that wasn't really an issue because back then, obviously being in the UK, I always thought this was America, and I just didn't see the difference. It's only till later when, you know, as an adult, I really got into the genre and that you realise the differences and stuff. And since I've been talking to you guys and a lot of guys online, you know, from Canada as well as the US, but yeah, I just thought this was just USA. But you can tell now. You can tell now, obviously, how different they are. Sorry, Dana.
Oh no, I was just gonna say earlier, Darren, that I figured that you probably had a different perspective than us in the States did with this movie. But yeah, I was like, the more and more Canadian horror movies I watched, or the more and more ones that I realized were actually Canadian, I was like, you know what? These are early Canadian slashers just blew all the stuff we were doing in the States at the same time out of the water.
Yeah, my top 10 slashers, I would imagine, have got to be 5 or 6 Canadian films for sure. Like, you know, they just seem to have the knack, didn't they? It started with Prom Night, I believe, and they just seem to have the knack of doing them really well.
Also, this one's kind of different because it's Canadian, and I don't think they really are trying to hide that it's Canadian.
No, look at
just like you can tell that they're not trying to, like, nobody's trying to not talk. Like, everybody says sorry a lot. And
yeah, sorry.
And the accents in is like I think there's like at least one French guy with a French kind of accent. So it's like, you know, you could tell. Well, and they're not hiding the palm, like in Elm Street, they're hiding the palm trees to make it look like it's Middle America or it's not California.
Yeah.
Or like it's Halloween, but they're just showing you. They're not trying to go, okay, we're pretending to be in America because we want Americans to buy our movie. Oh, you know.
I don't know if you guys know this or anybody in the chat knows this, but Paul Kelman was actually born in England. He was actually born in the UK. Uh,
I didn't know that.
he moved to Canada. So I know back when Steve and I did a commentary for this movie, and the Cardboard Enthusiast is in here. I see him down there. I'm going to add him here in a second. But the first time me and Steve did a commentary for this movie, Steve was listening to Paul Kelman talk, and he was like, that guy don't sound Canadian. You know,
Right.
it sounds like, you know, he might have a little bit of a different accent than the other guys. And so whenever I found out that he was actually born in England and then moved with his family to Canada later on, I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and add the Cardboard Enthusiast John here. Hey, John.
What's up?
Hi, John.
How's it going? Sorry, I meant to join a minute ago. What are you on the timestamp? I'm watching too.
I'm at
9:10.
Yeah, I'm at 9:18, but we're all about like.
Yeah, I'm just a couple of seconds behind.
Okay.
By the way, I think Friday the 13th Part 3 stole Shelley from this movie. This guy is so Shelley. It's ridiculous.
Right,
Like he's trying to
yeah,
get a
yeah.
girl, and he's too goofy, and he's doing all the gore stuff, and it's like, okay, Friday the 13th, you like Friday the 13th Part 2 ripping off Mario Bava. This,
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
That's funny.
And you don't see anybody like Mabel in any of the Friday the 13th movies. That's what
No, you don't.
not even that waitress in Friday the 13th Part 1. She's not even close.
No. So we're gonna see one of the. I mean, I think this is pretty gory here in a second.
It's a bloody heart.
I think I saw this on Joe Bob first time. I don't remember.
Oh, wow.
May have been
Oh,
Joe
yeah?
Bob.
Wow.
Maybe on the Monster Vision, because I would have been like 14 or 15. It was like late 90s, so I'm not sure, but yeah, it's gnarly.
I wonder if Darcy doesn't like this scene because of the real heart. Oh, it's not an animal, so she's fine.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it's a human heart, so she probably wouldn't have a problem with that.
Yeah, screw humans.
She's got like
Tell
the
you what,
best kill in the Halloween Ends.
Sorry,
She's like, oh, sorry, I was gonna say she's like the
No, go
only
on.
good. She's like the only good
good.
real kill in Halloween Ends. Her death.
Yeah.
Well,
If you don't
that
see in
scene.
the movie version.
Yeah.
I was going to say that the transfer on this looks amazing. I tell you, I think I've only popped it in once since I bought it from Screen Factory, and it's just stunning. It looks stunning to me.
I'm not sure why Sammy's howling in the background. I don't know if y'all can hear that or not.
A little bit. Not bad.
So the guy that's the bartender,
Crazy Ralph.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly the same. Yeah.
he is a crazy Ralph character, but that actor is Jack Van Evra.
Mhm.
And does
Yeah.
anybody know what other Canadian horror movie he was in?
I
I
do.
just watched
but
it the other day too. Yeah.
yeah.
He was in Funeral Home. He was the crazy old guy who was like the funeral home director or the mortician or whatever you want to call him. And he was a crazy ass. Basically, if you've seen Funeral Home, you will know that he was abusive to his wife. He was mean to the neighborhood kids. Just all around crazy guy, and was cheating on his wife too.
Well, he was also in Black Christmas.
Christmas, yeah.
He was
Was he
was
really?
the guy at the door. He was like, "Hey, we're checking door to door. Everything
That's
okay?"
right.
Yeah.
Shit, I never put that together. I've never.
Yeah.
Crikey.
He died not too long after this, I think.
Yeah, because he looks like he could be like when I first watched that in Black Christmas, I thought to myself, that looks like Bill Moseley's dad or something. Like it looks just like Bill Moseley. I don't know why. I think it's just like the teeth and the mouth. And yeah.
I'll have a look at. Oh, he's in Deadly Eyes. I haven't seen that for a while. With
Oh, I haven't seen that one in a while either.
with Leslie
Is that
Donaldson.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the rap music movie.
Yeah. Leslie Donaldson dies in that movie. She dies, I guess.
yes, she does.
Oh, flashback. Yeah, this is a very gnarly kill. These aren't like, oh, we're gonna do something fun for a kill. It's like, no, this is just blood and splatter. And
They're pretty vicious too.
the guy's not stumbling to find a weapon like Jason does. Oh, I'll use this saw, I guess. I don't know.
He was in the Incubus, which I've never seen that. I've heard about it.
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, I've seen
I
that
haven't
one.
seen that for a
Yeah,
while. But
pretty solid. I wouldn't nothing groundbreaking or anything, but it's a solid little slasher film.
is that British, that movie? I think it's. I can't remember.
The Incubus.
I-
I'm trying to think. Was it John Cassav? Can't even say his name. Cassavetes or
Cassavetes?
something like that. Yeah, yeah. Not sure if it's UK. It might be. I know. Yeah, I think Iron Maiden lead singer Bruce Dickinson might be in it. If I'm remembering the right film, it's like a music part in the film, and
He
yeah, I'm
is.
sure that's it.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. So
Weird.
it might be UK then.
Why do I think? Yeah, for some reason, I'm thinking it's British. I don't know. We're
It might
talking
be a
about people.
co-production or something.
Does anybody have a problem with Keith Knight's character of Hollis being with the very attractive Cynthia Dale, who's at the end of the head of the table, rather?
He's
should
got
say.
that mustache. What are you, crazy? Come on.
I mean, but he's a lovable teddy bear. Who wouldn't love him? Who wouldn't love Hollis?
Why? Who said they didn't like him?
Well, Steve said when we did the commentary together, he said, why is she with the fat guy? And I was like, it's Hollis. Come on.
Yeah, what the funny thing about that is when Dead Pit done a commentary for this going back a few years ago, and I remember Wes saying that Hollis looks like his dad. Rest in peace now. His father's sad, he's passed away, and that's always made me laugh. And ever since like he said that, I can see Hollis now. I think of Wes's dad.
In the Three Stooges, Curly in real life had women flowing like water. Like he had women coming and going. And looking at him, you think, oh, who would be attracted? Yeah, people just have something, and some women are like, hey, I want some of that.
Yeah. Well, and they it's been said about Keith Knight that he was very much that type of person in real life, a peacemaker, a gentleman, and just wanted to be nice to everybody. I mean, what's not to love about somebody like that?
He was in a Class of '84 too.
Yes, he was.
That's a very underrated movie.
Yes,
I love that film.
That is probably the most unlikable character that he played, but he played it to the hilt, and that is the mark of a great actor to me. That somebody that can play the majority of his roles was very sweet, nice, lovable characters. But to turn around and play a very reprehensible, almost evil character, now there's a mark of a great actor right there. But yeah, Class of 1984, that's a great movie. Great.
That's a film that never gets mentioned a lot, and it's absolutely brilliant, I tell you. That was another early staple of renting when I was younger. But yeah, why that film doesn't get more recognition, I don't know. One of the best revenge films ever, I think.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those that just kind of gets lost. I think because there's so many of those those class revenge type genre of movies. It's like exploitation, but then it's like The Substitute and that kind of thing. That's such a, I don't know. That stuff gets lost for sure. It seems like it just, I don't know. You would think it would get more attention.
Yeah, definitely. And also, how old was that guy? The guy we've just been talking about, because he seemed a little bit older than the others.
Keith Knight. Now I know Paul Kelman was a little bit older than the others,
right?
But I'm not sure about Keith Knight though. Let me see.
1956.
56.
He was born in 56.
So I think Paul Kalman was still a little bit older than Keith Knight, even.
Right.
Well, when the coroner's talking about the heart, and they mentioned, well, it hasn't happened yet, but the girl at the beginning, and they're like, she was like 30. I'm like, she didn't look 30. Did she look 30? That girl, the woman at the beginning?
Not really, no.
No, I'm like, okay, that was a little overboard, but Moosehead Bear.
Yeah.
This movie just has such an atmosphere. That's what separates this from so many. Like, there's so many slasher movies, but there's only like a handful where you really just like can like almost feel the atmosphere in it. And I think it's just where they shoot them. Maybe it's the camera where they shoot them, but something about these, they stick out.
I was saying earlier, the Canada films just seem to have they're darker for some reason. It just seemed they're more moody. I don't know what about the lighting is. I mean, I'm sure they're using the same kind of cameras that the people in America, Hollywood, were using. So I'm like, there's something that I don't know. Maybe they light it differently.
Yeah, more grittier, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny too, because like this era, you have all these movies like in this era, but then like 20 years later, you get all that stuff on the CW in like Vancouver that just all looks like so just generic. Like it just doesn't have like any real interesting look to it. Like even I like Supernatural, the show, but Supernatural, it just looks so like sanitized and stuff. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just because they stopped filming with actual film. I don't know.
So I was telling Steve a little while back.
Bye, Mabel.
Yeah, goodbye, Mabel. That it seems like, we were just talking about how great these early Canadian horror movies were. But I told Steve, I said, it feels like that that the filmmakers don't know how to make a good film even in Canada anymore, because they're just not the same. They are not the same. And Steve, of course, looks at me like I'm nuts because he says, you just don't like watching any of the new stuff. I said, that is true that the majority of the stuff I like is 70s, early to mid 80s type of stuff, because that was the golden time for that type of film.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't think that filmmakers are interested. These young filmmakers now aren't interested in making films like this anymore, which is sad. But I think that's going to be the way things go from here on out. If we want to watch this kind of stuff, we're going to have to just keep going back and rewatching what's already out there. And we might get a few gems here and there. I mean, in my opinion, X and Pearl and stuff like that, they really put an effort into making that seem like it could be a movie from the time period that it's supposed to be, instead of a newer movie coming out.
I think the beauty as well is with all these 1980s films is you never no matter how old you are, you're never going to actually get to see everything. So I'm always sort of discovering newer ones, week in, week out. And it's the gift that keeps on giving, really, is my I'm 51, so this is right bang into where where I watch stuff. I do give the newer films a go. I do try. I do like a few of them. Did like X and Pearl, but I just like Dana. I just cannot really, it takes something. Even the lesser film, like say a decent film comes out, it gets so overhyped that I'm just, by the time I see it, I just roll my eyes and think, well, I don't know what. It was good, but I don't see why everyone's going mad about it. They seem to jump onto anything that's half decent nowadays and just label it, I'm one a big Hereditary fan, as Dana will know through the podcast, and I know Dirk loves that film. Mm-hmm. And I was like, nah, it's not for me, I can see it's well made. I can see it's one of the best well-made films of the year, but it just didn't do anything for me.
Mm-hmm. So, and I even tried to, rewatch it when we were going to do it on the podcast, and I still hated it.
Yeah, it's so what's the word? It's just so downbeat in it, so there's like a dread that goes throughout the whole film. It's not one you want to, when you want a bit of fun to pop in, like, But
I just felt like they were trying too hard. Maybe you need to dial it back a little bit or something and not try so damn hard.
That's a good thing to identify too, like knowing the difference between something you can respect versus something you like. So many people can't do that. I don't know why. Like there's a lot of movies that come out that I can say it's a well-made movie, but I don't like it. But it's like I do agree. Like I think people just, like you said, they're desperate. Everyone just wants everything to be great. And there's film criticism is like it doesn't exist anymore. Mm-hmm. There's really just like a thing now. People just, if it comes out in the horror community, like it. If you don't like it, you're a hater. That's a thing. And I just don't get that, I don't understand that mentality, but.
Yeah.
No.
And not
some of the bigger YouTube channels are like that, mind. They just like everything. And I get to a point where I'm thinking, I lose a little bit of respect for them because, you want someone. That's why I love a big dead pit. You want someone who's just going to go on there and tell you how it is. You
want somebody to be a little discriminate.
But then you have people on the other side who hate everything. There's a lot of missing middle ground where people are more like
I'd probably respect them a bit more. Yeah.
If you watch Siskel and Ebert, they like some movies that you think, oh, why would they like that movie? And then with their usual Hollywood, if you watch any of their old clips, but then you're like, whoa, why do they hate this movie so much? It's like, but at least they didn't just say, oh, we hate everything or we like every genre, certain genres and stuff. Like they hated horror movies, but then once in a while they would go, oh, that's a good horror movie. That's how they should be done.
That comes across
like you say on YouTube, some people are like, oh, that's just terrible. Everything sucks. Like,
right.
Yeah.
I will say my specific who go on certain channels that I know, but anyway, I'm sorry, Darren. Go ahead.
That's okay. I respect people that even if they don't like the majority of stuff, I respect them more than the people who like everything.
Mm-hmm. So I just think films is something that you like. I don't know.
Yeah, films today are just made for the young. I think they're made for like the 20 to 30-year-olds maybe, and that's why a lot of us can't really gel with them. That's my excuse anyway. But
Apollos brings up a good question. He says, did Canada stop investing in its film market? I know the likes of early Cronenberg films were funded in part by Canadian government, which made Shivers controversial. I think they did because there was a lot of film funding given to Canadian horror, especially during the early years. And it would have been, I guess mid to late 70s, even into the 80s, where you would see that a lot of Canadian films, if you watch the credits to the end, you would see how it was funded. They were tax shelter films, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that all but dried up, and that's probably why we don't get these types of films anymore, or don't get them that much.
I agree. I mean, there's definitely, like, you're right too, TJ. Like, there's a lot of people who they hate anything, and that's not. I just think it's like, I don't know. I just noticed that, like, with the horror community, man, they're just so gung-ho about, like, and it's not always been that way, but lately, the horror community is really big on, like, if you don't like something, don't tell anyone you don't like it. Otherwise, it's like, I just noticed that's a thing now, and I'm like, when did that become a thing? Like, because, I don't know. There's many horror movies that I respect. I just don't enjoy them, but they're great movies, I mean,
yeah.
Like, I don't love Midsommar, but I know that's a terrifically made film. It's just not my thing, but I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
Round and round. Think of the Rat song. Round. Anybody know that Rat song?
Yeah.
From the 80s.
But it is weird, though. I mean, like, there's, like you said, the middle ground thing, I think, is important. Like, getting, I don't know. It's like everyone wants to go, like, extreme with it either way, and it's,
I mean, there are movies like I'll hate or not like the whole movie, but then some movies I'm like, oh, parts of it I can see, but some people are just like they hate it, so they're not going to give any credit to it at all, and it's like, I mean, you don't have to be diplomatic, but I mean, if just hating it, because there's people who will go into it hating it, and they're not going to give it a chance to begin with, and then afterwards they give their 3-hour rant about how terrible the movie was, and it's like, first of all, why, if you didn't want to see it in the first place, why would you subject yourself to that? I mean, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I try not to go into a movie with any preconceived notions about it, which is generally why a lot of this new stuff I try not to read or watch reviews or anything like that. Now, as I've said before, I did not mind at all that like John came in the chat and was telling me about Skinamarink and kind of like, you know, he was saying, you know, beware this movie data, it's a piece of shit. And then I go and watch it and I'm like, gee guys, I kind of liked it. You know, I bet like John almost fell out of his chair when he seen that.
Hey, I thought I was going to hate Megan. I went into that thinking I'm going to fucking hate this movie. And I watched it and I was like, it's not that bad. I liked it. I thought it was actually like the best Child's Play ripoff I've seen so far.
Oh,
I mean, but I think the trailer was so bad for Megan because they market it like they make you think you're going to watch like a TikTok movie. And it's like, that's
it's so goofy too.
Yeah. Like that's not the movie, but they market it for like these 14-year-olds. Like, oh, you like popping and locking? You'll like this movie. And it's like, that's not the movie, you know? So,
yeah. They did that movie a disservice by doing that. Because can you think how many people like us saw that trailer and decided not to watch the movie based on that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's why I don't watch trailers.
Oh yeah, that's right, Darren. You didn't like it, did you?
Yeah.
It was okay, and again, like John said, I can appreciate the fact that it's well made. Just wasn't my thing. I think wasn't it PG-13 as well? So hopefully there's going to be like a longer or a more grislier cut, so to speak. But just one more thing. I much prefer the Child's Play remake, to be honest. But I know I'm in the minority there.
Oh,
I don't think I've seen that one.
I cried with that one. I just couldn't.
I love
it kind of reminded me of it, but
that I could stand in the movie. The movie itself was just like, oh, and poor Mark Hamill.
Right, yeah. I don't know. I just maybe I caught you on a good day, but I kind of enjoyed it.
I mean, why is there like a 15-year-old kid wants an AI doll? I mean,
that's one of the big things with me. And like I brought this up about a lot of kids in a lot of the newer movies. Why are they so obnoxious? Why do I want to kill every one of these kids before whoever's killing them off can kill them? I want to get my hands around their throat because they are so hateful and so obnoxious. What happened to like at least semi-innocent kids in movies?
Well, you were talking on one stream about Last of Us, but that movie, that show, I understand because if you look at the character of the young girl, she's in a post-apocalyptic world and there's zombies everywhere. She's got to be defensive. That character makes sense to be like that, but to just I know what you're saying, just randomly just being an obnoxious person, I don't. But that one, I think it works. It makes sense in that, but like just having, but then like in slash movies, you just have these obnoxious characters that you're supposed to like. Obviously, to a point in slash movies, they put the obnoxious characters in there because you wanted them to die, but it's just like if you're gonna make most of the characters like that in a movie, it's just like.
Yeah, I have to have somebody that I can get behind. And like this goes back to the movie we're watching right now, where in my opinion, and you guys might disagree with me, the majority of these characters are likable characters.
Like this scene. Yeah, listen to this scene. Like what they're doing with this music is like it's cheesy, but they're literally lighting this. They're basically saying like, okay, this is a slasher movie, but this is like just a moment with people, right?
Yeah.
A lot of movies don't do that anymore, you know?
Well, we had that earlier with TJ and Axel when they're talking in in fact, I think they have better chemistry than Lori and any of her boyfriends in this movie. Like she's not that she's not good, but it's just like I believe their relationship more than her relationship. Then again, she's at a point where she's with Axel because she broke up with TJ because he left, but then now that TJ's back, she's confused. So I understand why she's sort of distant, but there should have been a point in this movie where there was some calm where she would have that between the characters, but there's only that scene in the bar, but they're in the same room together, but they're not interacting. So you don't see her. That's my only complaint about her is with that now there's an emotional thing and it's like, okay, but it would have been nice if there was a calm, not emotional scene with characters, but
yeah, I think that's a good point to bring up because a lot of characters in a lot of these newer movies, they don't seem real to me. I don't care about them. And I'm not saying all the movies, but the majority of them, for me anyway, I don't care about them. I don't care what happens to them. They could fall into a black hole for all I care. But these characters I care about, that you actually don't want the majority of these people to get killed off. So that makes it more tense, I think, and makes it more horrifying.
That was a great shot with the two of them in the background and the sun and everything. I think that was like a really good. So that wasn't a horror movie shot. That was more like a dramatic movie shot than.
I was confused earlier. I was looking when you were talking about the gallows. I was thinking of the Shallows.
Yeah,
I saw
in the chat.
And that's actually an okay movie. Like, it's not great, but it's okay. It's kind of like a Jaws ripoff type. But
if I didn't spend money on this, I would break it right now to show you how much I don't like this movie.
So is it really bad? I don't think I've seen it.
It's not. Like I said, the characters are obnoxious. There's one good scene, but it's in the trailer. So if you see the trailer, you've seen the best part of the movie. The ending is like, and it's the characters just like, why are any of these people together? And it's just
it's like part found footage as well, is it? It's not all found footage, is it?
I think it's found footage. It's completely found footage.
It is completely. Yeah, it's been a while. But that again, if you don't like found footage, I wouldn't even bother. I wouldn't even bother anyway. It's that bad. But have you seen the sequel, TJ?
Maybe watch it. But
have you seen the sequel,
TJ? Very much like the scene in Halloween where Laurie gets startled by Sheriff Brackett, because this is almost shot for shot, like the same kind of. Yeah. Except this one's at night. But then again, slash movies they take from each other, and I mean,
Yeah, definitely.
Even in 1981.
Exactly.
What's the sequel like, TJ, of The Gallows? Have you seen it?
I watched it, and I don't think it was any better. But it's a movie. It's not a found footage. So it's at least it has a better look to it. But the same guys directed it, and I don't think it was great either. I mean, yeah. So there's a new one that's coming out, The Outwaters, which I have some friends who saw it and they liked it. That looks like a good found footage.
What's that called again?
The Outwaters.
What was that again? The Outwaters. Right.
Yeah.
So you guys probably never watched Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman, did you? Well, and I
watched a couple episodes. I didn't watch the whole season.
My mom watched it. I mean, in my defense, my mom watched it. So when I was living with my parents, I got to see many, many episodes. And I don't know if this character was in it from the start or she came later, but the girl with the really short, kind of blondish, brownish colored hair, that is, I believe her name is Helene Udy or is it UDY is the last name. But anyway, she played Myra on Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman.
Huh. Okay.
The waitress, Sylvia, right?
Interesting.
No, actually, she's not a waitress. The redhead.
Oh, okay. She's the one about. Okay, yeah, okay.
She's with the one I'm talking about. She's with the real tall guy, John.
Right. Harriet is the waitress. That's it.
Yeah, Harriet.
They
the
sing
one
a song
that-
to her later. Or
Yeah, exactly.
So did y'all see Sick, the new movie
I haven't
that
seen
was
it
on
yet.
Peacock? It's like it's a COVID slasher, but
I heard
the characters at the end are kind of like the villains. It's really very wink wink, like the names. I didn't realize what they were doing until the very end of it, and I was like, oh, okay, I know exactly what they're doing here. I didn't mind it. I mean, it was not bad. I feel like the problem was the kills were edited so quickly. It was like when they were doing the scenes where there was chases, it was like really fast. So you could see what was happening, but it was almost like they went 2x on it. And that was my only complaint. It was just so fast, the kill scenes and all. But
I
think
thought it was okay. Sorry, Darren.
No, go on.
I thought it was okay, but I just didn't like. Now it feels like they've almost got to put a COVID angle into everything now because of what we've went through for over 2 years, pretty much. And I didn't much care for that being thrown in, but a few of the younger characters in it, or the actors and actresses that played those characters, were okay. I didn't find them nearly as obnoxious as I have a lot of other newer movies. I don't envision myself going back and rewatching it anytime soon, but I might give it a while and try.
it was the main girl in that movie, the young girl, that was Bobby Hill's daughter. The girl who voiced Bobby Hill and King of Hill, that's her daughter.
Oh, wow.
Because I was like,
Oh,
why
really?
does this person look familiar? Yeah. So it's all Gen Z kids, right? They're like 20, 21, so
Right.
they're babies, basically.
Yeah. I think I give that like a 6 out of 10. I didn't hate it. I thought Kevin Williamson was the writer. I thought it was terribly written. I thought it was really generic. But yeah, it was a good way to pass, 90 minutes, I suppose.
Yeah.
So speaking of newer movies, has anybody seen the new M. Night Shyamalan movie
Nope.
yet? A Knock
Not
at
yet.
the Cabin Door, I believe.
Right, yeah.
Okay. Well,
But Batista's in
I
it, right?
didn't hate it, but I didn't absolutely hate it, but I was kind of angry with the ending of it, or the thing behind it. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you too much.
I'm behind on everything. I haven't seen Barbarian. I haven't seen The Menu. I haven't seen Terrifier 2.
The Menu, I hated that movie. I'll tell you right now, I hated
You didn't
that.
like The Menu?
No.
I liked it. It was, I wouldn't rewatch it a lot, but I liked it. It was well made, I think. But
I tried to give it a chance, and I kept sitting there and kept watching it, and just kept getting worse for me, unfortunately.
I feel like Ray Fiennes made it. Like if Ray Fiennes wasn't in it, it wouldn't be as good. He was really good in it, but
Am I totally losing my mind, John, or was her name totally slipped out of my mind?
oh, Anya Taylor-Joy or whatever.
No, Judith Light. Was Judith Light in that movie, or was she the one with the well, of course she's older now too, but
Yeah, she is. She is. She's in it.
I
Yeah.
thought, well, either I'm losing my
Who's the
freaking
boss?
mind, or
Right.
Judith Light is in this movie.
Yeah.
By the way, would he have thought the killer really resealed that box of chocolates to put a heart in it with the plastic wrap?
Yeah, because I don't think the one that went to the mayor was sealed up like that, was it?
No, it wasn't. So I was like, okay, the plastic wrap was a bad choice for if you're going to really pay attention to the movie and go, oh, wait a minute.
I think actually this was the scene where she's hugging around on Hollis, where Steve said, I just can't believe that. He's like, what in the world is she doing with him?
He's got that John Candy charm, I guess, or something.
There you go. Chris Farley.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Axel's giving off I'm weird vibes. Okay.
And why does TJ in the movie, not TJ?
Yeah.
Why does TJ have that necktie like that?
It was the 80s, Canada.
I guess.
He was a fan of Mr. Furley from Three's Company. That's
Probably a fan of cruising. Good job it's not hanging out of his back pocket.
That's what I was thinking about. I was like, that's a little weird.
It's a fashion choice. It's whatever.
I love this rock music. It's hilarious. It's like so basic. It's just funny.
Yeah. It's definitely small town rock music, like localized rock music
Mm-hmm.
or regional rock music, whatever you want to call it. And Steve was making fun of the chick eating the hot dogs too, the one in the plaid dress that just came out there. Steve's got a bad habit of making fun of people that he deems as overweight.
Cancel.
About it all the time.
Did you and Steve did you do a commentary for this, Dana, with Steve?
Yes.
That's all?
Yes.
I think I can vaguely remember that one, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually watched a YouTube channel, Watchalong people. They did this movie. Like I watched it a couple of days ago. I was like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Those are fun usually, because people usually give the movies a break, like older movies. So I'm like, why? There's usually the kids who are like, oh, I hate these older movies, but like,
I love
the
seeing
YouTube people give it a good chance.
I love seeing their reactions, especially if it's a first time watch for them. Some of the reactions they got.
It's kind of a skill though to make a slasher or just a horror movie and make it fun. That's a skill, just to make something where you can be terrified or then in a moment later you can be like, well, this is just, you're having a good time. And that's something that people just can't do well anymore at least. But
I mean, Smile wasn't a slasher, but that was not a fun movie. You go, oh, let's have a nice day and watch the Smile. Oh, such a happy ending.
If you're starting out your day on a high note, don't watch Smile that day. Texas is saying, thanks, Dana. Menu hate.
I think that's why I'm so drawn to Scream, is just because even though Scream is not great anymore, it's like that's still like a slasher genre that they have fun with. Yeah. A lot of the horror movies now, they're good, but they're, like you said, they're just so miserable. Like they're just not fun, to watch.
X was fun. That if more movies were like X, that was a good horror throwback type of movie that was fun. Like,
I think that's the problem I had with the new M. Night Shyamalan movie. It wasn't fun. I felt depressed.
His movies aren't fun, except for The Happening. That's hilarious. But other than that, his movies aren't made for like you're saying, this isn't a feel-good movie that's, I'm going to have a happy day or whatever.
But at least, with something like The Sixth Sense, one of his earlier ones, I could get behind that movie and be taken along for the ride. With this new one, I just felt depressed the majority of the movie.
Yeah, I like I'm a big fan of Signs. I know that's not a great movie, but I just really like the soundtrack
It's entertaining watching Joaquin Phoenix run around there with some tinfoil on his head. I just love that.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg is terrible in The Happening, and he can act when he wants to. I don't know what he was doing in that movie. Oh, the wind, if it goes that way, then we should do this. Like, okay, Marky, calm down.
Maybe M. Night Shyamalan thought he had to put old Marky Mark in there because he had Donnie Wahlberg in The Sixth Sense.
The only good film I think I've ever seen him in is Fear from 1990. That's a cracking film. Man. Plays the psychopath. He's like brilliant.
And The Departed. He's good in The Departed too.
I've not seen that one.
The only real burn he can give TJ is, TJ, you're sure out of shape. after they get in this fight. That's the biggest burn that he can get to.
Yeah, like he is good in Boogie Nights, but Boogie Nights is that's a depressing. That's like a very that's kind of a sad movie when you go through it. But
yeah,
if you're gonna do a '70s movie with drugs, you know it's not gonna have a unless it's a downright comedy. It's not gonna have a happy.
Apollo's brought up The Village, which The Village is a movie I think that makes Steve really mad with the ending of that movie. And I didn't mind The Village that much. I guess the reveal didn't bother me that much, but it pissed a lot of people off.
I never watched it because I knew the reveal. Like everybody would talk about the reveal, they wouldn't talk about anything else. So I'm like, and it all hinges on that reveal. So everything up to that point, why bother watching it? Because there's nothing that I don't think is because people haven't said anything else interesting about that movie besides the twist, maybe. But
so, what's this new one about then, Dina? What's the storyline?
Well, I don't want to give too much away because TJ obviously hasn't seen it. John, have you not seen it?
I have a AMC like a free pass. I may go this week sometime. I don't know. I hadn't decided. I mean, I want to, but I also just don't like going to the theater because it's just people are just fucking terrible.
Use your AMC passes before they start raising the prices for the good seats now.
I know, I should.
That is so stupid. I'm like, I hope they go bankrupt. But anyway.
I can tell you a little bit about it, Darren, without giving the twist away.
I can leave.
If you want to, TJ, but I promise I won't give like the ending away or anything like that.
Go ahead.
Just the basic story is 4 strangers show up at this cabin where there's a homosexual couple and the little Asian girl that they've adopted. So you've got all of those elements in it. So if that kind of stuff turns you off, 2 guys together, if that turns you off, you might not want to watch it. But there's no like, I don't ever see the guys kiss or they're not in bed together or anything like that. There's none of that. But so anyway, they're at this vacation cabin with their little girl and they're having a good time. And these 4 people show up at the cabin. One of them being Dave Bautista, who first comes on the little girl who's outside catching grasshoppers and putting them in a jar. And he just seems like a normal, stranger that's just, maybe he's moved in next door or something and he's just trying to get to know his neighbors. But you soon find out that these 4 people, Dave Bautista and the 3 others that are with him, believe themselves to be the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And for anybody that has read Revelations in the Bible, this stuff will seem very familiar to you. So that is the basic story of it. And the interactions between these 4 people and the 2 guys and the little girl. One little tidbit I will give you is that these 4 people basically tell the other people, you've got to offer one of your group, one of your family as a sacrifice. And if you don't kill one of your family members, then the apocalypse is going to happen. So that's
the reason I asked, because it sounded like the title sounds like a slasher film to me. Got me a bit interested, but now you said that, I might hold off a little bit.
Right, yeah. I mean, it is bloody in parts. There's no doubt about that, but I definitely would not call it a slasher movie.
So this scene coming up now is probably, for me, it's one of the best scenes of the film. I can remember get like an old Fangoria showed the uncut pictures of this.
I did too, Darren.
Yeah.
And then when you watch the actual film, when it was cut, you was wondering where, a few of the shots were. But yeah, this is iconic. I think the look on the girl's face, and
Yeah.
When I think of My Bloody Valentine, I think of this scene.
Yeah, this is definitely, as you said, Darren, an iconic scene.
So is there a twist in Knock at the Cabin, or is it just pretty much straightforward?
It's a Shyamalan movie because it's a twist.
There is a little bit of a twist, but I thought that this was very, in my opinion, John, very different than any of his other movies that he's done.
Yeah, because that's what someone had told me. They didn't give me spoilers, but they saw it and they were like, "Yeah, there's not really like a twist, like a 180 type thing,
Right.
like he usually does." So
yeah, one of those like, whoa,
yeah,
that's what
they're all dogs or something, right? Like,
Well, like Old, the twist really isn't what's the main story. The twist is like some little thing that happens within the movie, and I'm like, that's a twist. That's more like part of the story than a twist. Than a big reveal. Oh, he's dead. That's the reveal. But
yeah,
like
be prepared for M. Night Shyamalan to make his cameo on a home shopping network QVC thing, selling some kind of products on TV.
Oh, so he's not a major character like he usually is in the movies? That
No,
okay.
no, not a major character.
Like in Signs, he's the guy that's like, "Well, I killed your wife." Thanks a lot.
Oh man.
Well, that's
he's like the epitome. He just seems like he runs out of ideas. Like he's just one of those guys that like he had a lot of great ideas and then he made money and he was like, "Oh, I guess I should just keep making movies." Like, but he just ran out of ideas,
Yeah, he ran out of steam somewhere along the way.
Which happens. I mean, it happens to every filmmaker.
Oh,
I get it. You would think some people would just know when to stop. Like, maybe I should just not make any more movies.
I've said that about a lot of filmmakers that I still respect. I said it about George Romero. I said it about John Carpenter, Tobe Hooper, and I still respect those guys, alive or dead. It doesn't matter. I still respect the great stuff that they did, but I always refer to it as missing in action.
Yeah.
Because it just seemed like they were a soldier that was great at what they did, great at defending the country or whatever, and then somewhere along the way, where did they go? Where did this great filmmaker go, and why in the hell are they making the crap they're making now? What happened?
I think it's got a lot to do with like budgets, and they haven't got the energy they used to have. But I will say they can. It is, they are capable of coming back with a good film. Because look at Dario Argento's last film. For me, I thought that was a return to form.
Yeah.
On a very limited, budget and what have you. So they could do it. You might see another De Palma. I'm not saying they're going to be excellent classics, but I think every director, as long as they're old enough, to mobility wise and all that, and obviously, up top as well, you have all their faculties and that. I think there's a good film from any of them could happen. Whether it will is another thing. But yeah, Argento sort of drove that home to me. They can do. I'd love to see another De Palma film.
I blame the studios too. I think they crush these great filmmakers.
Yeah. I'd love to see John Carpenter come back and do another one, maybe. Who knows? But I think he's more concentrated on his music. But
he's done.
Yeah, it's a good film in anyone, I think.
He doesn't want to do it anymore. He's done.
Is he? The way I was watching some videos of him, doing these signings and stuff recently, and he's just not with it at all. He just I don't think he respects the fans or anything. He just seems really nonchalant, and if you talk to him about Halloween, which is obviously everyone, he's heard every question imaginable 1,000 million times even. So I get it, but
I will say about John Carpenter, people were even saying he was a grumpy old ass back when I met him at Fright Night, and that's been several years now.
Mhm.
But when I met him, he was very nice to me. Now, I don't know if he was friendly with everybody that weekend, but when I went up to him and met him, he actually talked to me and had a little bit of a conversation with me. So I had a good experience with him, but I know several people had a less than enthusiastic response from him when they met him.
Yeah, the studios definitely mess with his movies a lot.
Oh,
He
yes.
really he has there's a lot of untold stories there with that stuff too. You can just tell. Like I've even on some of those Blu-rays when you hear them talking about it, like
Mhm.
you can just see there was a lot of shit that happened that just it's all you can kind of tell when someone I don't want to compare it to like trauma because like real trauma is like when stuff happens to you, but you can always tell when someone's been through some bad shit, but just how their demeanor is. And John Carpenter's like one of those people that like you can just tell there's been some odd things that have happened to him, and he's just like, I'm over it. You know, I want to watch my NBA. I want to play Xbox. I want to smoke a joint.
I want to smoke my weed.
Yeah, I'm over it. You know. But I agree.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
he's grumpy. He's grumpy as hell for sure. You know.
He's just reached that point now where he just doesn't give a fuck anymore. You know,
Yeah.
the way he comes across or anything. And that's his right, I suppose. You know, I'd be mortified because you hear stories as well as with Tom Savini. I think I'd be mortified if I went up to one of these and they were like an asshole to me. You know, because they're only there because of us anyway.
Mhm.
And they say don't meet your heroes because you get disappointed. And the only one I really want to meet, I think, alive now would be Dario Argento and maybe Sergio Martino, and that'll be it, I think.
I would want to meet Argento if I could, and Sam Raimi. I still want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
meet Sam
Yeah.
Raimi. I don't want to
No,
talk
it's not gonna happen.
about movies I want to talk about Evil Dead, and I know he's another one of those that he's probably been asked every question imaginable about Evil Dead. But if I met him, that is what I would want to talk to him about, is that trilogy, that original trilogy of films.
But he seems like he might be nice, Sam Raimi.
Yeah,
Like
I
he
don't
seems like he could
think he's an
be,
asshole.
friendly. I
Mhm.
don't know.
And I've said this about Ted, his brother Ted, who for years I wanted to meet, and for whatever reason our paths never did cross. And then I finally met him, and he was nice, but he was also one of those people that was so reserved that the whole experience was underwhelming for me. He was nice. He took a picture with me. He shook my hand, and he probably would have talked as long as I wanted to, but it just felt weird to talk to somebody who seemed to be so far removed from the movies he had made.
Right. Like he was kind of holding back a bit, was he?
Kind of, yeah. It
Yeah,
was
it's not
very
good.
underwhelming.
But by the way, you could tell it was Canada because the phone number was 999. I'm like, that's not American exchange number.
Exactly.
That's a UK thing. That was back in the day as well.
And by the way, why does that one girl get so upset that they found the dude in the refrigerator? Like, she had half a second scene with him, and all of a sudden she's crying like she was his wife or something. Like,
Screaming, "Dave's dead!"
Oh, look, they're both in their outfits. Well, we won't be able to tell who's who now, will we?
Uh-huh.
I always wonder with actors when they do these things, because it always makes me wonder when when you read a script and you're a character, and for instance, like Axel, you're the killer. Spoilers. And
Spoilers, people.
and like, you're the killer, but as you play that character, are you playing that character not thinking about that conclusion, or are you playing that character thinking I've got to fool everybody? Like that's a weird thing to play with as an actor. Like how do you how do you balance that in the role? You
I
know,
think that's sometimes why you hear directors say that they would give them new sides every day for the script, so that nobody really knew what's going to happen to my character, who's going to be the killer today. You know, and I think that they did that. You know, they did that on purpose, to keep people off kilter, and they were as much in the dark as the audience that would be watching the movie for the first time.
Well, I think in that case it would be just as bad for the people who are going to get killed by them, knowing you're going to be doing scenes before the reveal or whatever, or when they kill you. So you have to. So I think it's just you just have to put it out of your mind until the scenes come up. Also, in this movie, Axel, I guess, is sort of triggered at the beginning of the movie, because if you go back and you watch the beginning when you see the little heart tattoo on the girl, you can tell he changes when he's with her. So I think that's sort of a psychological thing. So you can look at it as the character at these moments when he's not dressed as the minor, he doesn't know he's the killer. Right. So you could, as an actor, you could do it that way, as far as, you know.
Did you guys work out the killer first time?
I did not.
No, I don't. I was too young.
I don't think I did either.
No.
Yeah, when I watched it, I wasn't trying to figure out. I was just like enjoying the movie. I never like. Nowadays, everybody's like, everybody has to watch the 2-minute trailer of Scream 6 because they're gonna figure out who the killer is by watching the 2-minute fucking trailer. I hate people like that. Anyway, so they have dedicated YouTube pages. The people every photo and every 3 seconds of footage, or they're like, we're gonna pause it, and every frame we're gonna see, and we're gonna figure out the movie now, and then when we see the movie, we're gonna go see. We knew right away.
Right.
Yeah. Why would you? Nobody knows how to have any fun with movies anymore either. They just want to figure out everything before they go and see it.
That's why I watch trailers. I don't want to know. I don't want to know anything. When I see a photo of the scene, I'm like, I didn't want to see anything about Evil Dead Rise, and then one of the first publicity photos was the mother possessed, and I'm like, shouldn't that be a reveal in the movie?
Right.
Spoiling for anybody who didn't know about that, but
right.
There are some movies that. Oh, sorry.
Go on, John. Go on.
I was just gonna say there are some though. It's kind of like some movies where the killer or the twist, like the actor, when you rewatch it, it's a lot more fun because you can see some things they're doing that's very, like even the one we were talking about, like Body Double. Like you rewatch that movie, and you're like, oh yeah, you can just see all along he's just fucking goating this guy. Like you can just see it coming and coming and coming, but you don't put it together. But
there are certain movies too where the first time you watch it, you cannot imagine even figuring out who the killer is, and then you go back and you rewatch it later, it's like, how in the heck did I not see that? The person was in shadow, but you could clearly tell it was this actor that was doing the killing. I don't know if we have a blind spot or something the first time we watch a movie, maybe.
Well, like with Scream, how could rewatching it a second time? How could you not know it wasn't Billy and Stu? I mean, they are so acting like they're crazy, and you're trying to you watch it and you're like, oh, it can't be them. Like in Scream 5, I don't know if everybody's seen it or not, but if for a point, I thought Jenny Ortega could have been in on it. If you look at part 4, what Jill did to pretend that she was attacked, that's pretty drastic. So in 5, you would think, because sequels are supposed to beat out the last movie, you think there was a point in 5 I was like, oh, maybe Jenny Ortega's character is in on this. So it's like, and then I was like, okay, she's not. But I was like, there was a point. Like, okay, and a friend of mine was like, oh no, well she's injured and she can barely move. I was like, but if you're crazy, you're crazy. You're not thinking rationally about this stuff in the first place. So I mean,
but I was going to say with the new Evil Dead trailer, I think they've done their bollocks. I think they know they got a bad film on their hands and they're just showing everything rather than holding back. I know a lot of people are really going nuts over it and saying it's going to be brilliant. I don't think so, personally.
I'm gonna
I don't think so.
I'm gonna give it a try, but
Oh, I'll try.
You didn't like the remake.
I'll
You're not gonna
definitely
like
try.
this movie.
yeah, that's what's bothering me, TJ, because too many people have said that it's very reminiscent of that remake.
Yeah, you're saying you're gonna give it a chance, but really deep down, I know that you're not giving it a chance.
Damn, Dana hates it already.
I still can't, like with Dana, I still can't get over that old drug thing with the remake. It just doesn't. I just can't get my head around it. You know.
They were trying to give purpose to why they were in the woods and why they couldn't leave.
Oh yeah,
but so far
but it's
removed.
still. Then again, the director, I remember him doing interviews for the remake, and he was like, "So we were holding off doing anything really supernatural because we wanted to make it look like it was just in her mind." And I'm like, if you watch that movie, there's a lot of supernatural things happening. I don't see where he was being subtle about it. I mean,
Yeah.
even the characters, I'm like, how do these characters not know something's going on? I mean,
right.
Yeah. Not counting the guy who read the book. I mean, he knows everything. He's just being an asshole, not telling everybody in the first place.
That was a whole set of characters that I don't believe I liked any of them. I just
they were all unlikable. Yeah.
Well, and leave them there. Just I don't like them.
Yeah, I watched that again, and I don't like that remake now. I rewatched it, and it's just like it's just kind of boring.
I was going to say, I think we were me and Dana were in the minority for not liking it because I see everywhere a lot of people really put that film in high regard, and I can't see it myself at all.
I was going to make a double penetration joke, but I stopped.
You're talking about movies.
People look at me laughing at myself.
You're talking about Guessing the Killer, though. I finally watched Trauma like a couple of months ago, maybe like it was October, November, and it was one of the few. Yeah, it was one of the few Argento movies I hadn't seen.
Yeah.
And I found myself like that movie. I didn't know what was happening. I
didn't finish watching it, so don't tell me what happened.
Oh, never mind. Well, never mind. Basically, I couldn't guess the killer in the movie. Like at the end, I was like, "Oh, okay." Like I was just going one way or another, and it's.
I actually love that film. I think that film's another underrated one. One I seen a few days ago, which is right up there in my top 5 agenda, was the Stendhal Syndrome. A lot of people don't like that one, and it's quite easy halfway through to maybe work out because there's like a big twist half. We sort of get the first part of the movie, we get the serial killer out of the way, and then there's another twist towards the end, but it sort of changes, halfway through. And I think that film is compared to what was coming out at the time in the 1990s, I think it's a minor masterpiece. I really do. I think a lot of people should go back and rewatch that and reevaluate it because it's right up there for me. Just breaks my top 5 Argento films. Which I say that to when they're just shocked. But it's a grower, because I was a bit lukewarm at first, but just grown on me.
Yeah, I kind of fell more in love with. I didn't like it when I first saw it a long time ago, but I kind of fell in love with Tenebrae watching it again. Like I was like, man, this fucking movie is terrific. Like it's
amazing. Yeah.
It is. I would put it in like top 3 now, probably for me with Argento.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely top 5 for me.
But I don't think it's up there for Steve though, which I was kind of confused by that.
That surprised me, because that's got the whole, the music, everything. The actual cast is superb. The gore. I'm surprised Steve don't rate that higher.
Yeah,
because we done it didn't we do it for Eurocult? I'm sure we did it. Yeah.
Probably did. Yeah.
I think we did. My mind's going. I think.
My mind's already gone.
It's kind of like a perfect mix, to me at least. It's a perfect mix of like his tribute to Hitchcock, but also his gore. It's like a perfect mesh of both of those. Like it's almost like the middle point, it's like his peak of both of that, right? And then after that, of course, he just chose to go one way versus the other, which, I mean, he just made a choice. Like, he decided, I'm going to do crazy-ass movies, right?
I think with Tenebrae, it was like 1982, so it was like during a slasher boom, funny enough, as we're watching it. So I think it was like a cross between a giallo and a slasher, and I think he like perfect.
I
perfect
love
mesh of the
twists
two.
and turns
Mhm.
in that in Tenebrae. I mean,
Right.
that has a lot of twists and turns in it.
Mhm.
I love most of his 80s films. Though.
It's like no.
Yeah, even the going on to like Phenomena and Opera, I think those two are just unbelievably good films.
Phenomena.
Thank you for getting that joke. Appreciate
Yeah, I like Phenomena. I don't love it. Like I like it. I own it and I enjoy it. It's a fun like. I like that he used Iron Maiden in it, and I like
Yeah.
It's a pretty
Great soundtrack.
movie, but it's just I can't the ending is just so crazy. Like I kind of like every time I watch it, I'm just like, what the hell is this? But it's not bad at all. It's just
it.
See, I hear that a lot.
Killer ending.
yeah.
I watched that a
killer
couple of
ending.
years ago with my nephew for a different podcast we were doing at the time, and he's only like he was in his 20s at the time, and he had sort of a lukewarm response to it, and I was surprised. I thought he's going to love this,
Yeah.
I hear that a lot though with the ending as well. People don't warm to that film much, It's one of those films you either love or you sort of maybe not like. But what's your thoughts, John? Well, and all three of you guys on Opera then from 1987. I know we're going off a little bit, Dina. Off the subject.
No, that is
Sorry.
So I like Opera. The thing about Opera that gets me, I think it's well made. I think the music's good. I really think it is a good movie. The killer in that movie, it's like, I'm sure they wanted this effect, but the whole movie, I'm just thinking, can you just kill this motherfucker already?
Yeah.
Like, he is like, it's the one time in an Argento movie where I'm like, my God, they've got to kill this guy. Like, even the end, like, he just keeps going and going, and I'm like, shoot him. Like, it's the only one of his movies I've ever had that reaction to. So I think that it kind of takes it down from like a 9 to like a 7 or so.
Right.
But I'm more into like, I love Argento 70s stuff. That's like, I mean, that's pretty common. I know most people, but that's more my love is, Bird with the Crystal Plumage and Cat o' Nine Tails and Deep Red. Like, I just love that stuff. So,
yeah.
Now, Opera for me, I'm not the hugest fan of opera. I like certain scenes in opera.
yeah.
But I'm a lot like John with I wanted them to kill the killer. It's like, why don't you just get rid of him? I had virtually the same effect. It had the same effect on me that it did John. Just get rid of him. But there were certain scenes, and this goes back to Argento being a master of those set pieces, even if they're horrific set pieces. For instance, when the killer is forcing the girl or the woman to watch as he kills other people in front of her, putting the needles underneath her eyes so she can't close her eyes. I thought that is genius.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So it has its moments. It's just not one of my favorite Argentos.
Well,
I think when the crow comes down as well and identifies the killer. Sorry, John, go on.
I was just gonna say, I think because they don't. That's the one movie where you don't get like the payoff. Like most of Argento movies, you get the payoff at the end, where like you see all this horrific shit happen, but then the guy who is the killer, he gets fucked up right at the end.
Right.
That's the one movie where that does not happen. So I think that's for me. Like, I don't know why he did it that way. I can understand kind of why he did it that way, but that's kind of like usually the payoff with Argento films is like the killer's going to get it's going to be gruesome at the end, right?
Nasty,
yeah.
The ending to it as well, when you got the girl and she's sort of at one with nature, and that is kind of strange, but for me it kind of works. I love Opera. I think Dina knows anyway. Like, definitely a 9 out of 10 for me, I think. But I love all his 70s stuff as well, John, but I think I slightly rate his 80s stuff, or the main three, I won't count his latter 80s sort of film, but yeah, Tenebrae, Phenomena, and Opera, I think top 5 easily. Suspiria is the best I think he's ever done, but yeah.
TJ, do you have any Any thoughts on
On
opera?
opera, I like the technical aspects, like the setup, like the gun in the peephole. That's a beautiful scene.
Yeah.
That's even though I'm a big Daria Nicolodi fan, I like, oh, don't kill her off, but whatever. But
that was so great. Yeah.
all the visual stuff is really good. The dressmaker chick at the beginning who was in Demons 2, the whole thing, the whole sequence with her and him trying to get the evidence from her. I think the visuals are very nice. The brutal the gore is it's brutal killings and stuff like that. The story's a little like the ending, sort of like with the talking about the girl, and there's like a brief moment where she's maniacal for a second, and I'm like, what is that? Is like it's like a big nod that like she sort of likes everything that's been happening, but it just seems like a weird thing to put in at the end, especially at the big climax where it's supposed to be the killer's dead and she's alive, and but the technical stuff is really good. The directing of it is, I like it too. But
I do like the fact that, like you say, it's got pretty much got two endings. You think the film's over, and then next thing you know, he's running across the Alps, stalking her and that. I did like all that as well, but maybe he could have not done the ending with the girl. Maybe could have stopped it before that. But I thought it quite brutal the way that the police took him down. Actually, because he wasn't in a good, with his eye and that, wasn't in a good state. But yeah, I really like that one a lot.
So in this, I think they dropped the ball with Axel, knowing he's the killer. The earlier scene where Hollis is dead, and you see the miner in shadows crouching down, and then a couple of seconds later, Axel rushes in and he's like, "Oh, you girls, what happened?" And I'm like, "That's set up." It seems to basically show you that he's the killer. I mean, because it's like, why would he wait that long to go and talk to them? That like, that made like that's like a in this whole the bridge is broken. Oh, Harry must have got him. I'm like, this is where
it doesn't give you a lot of clues.
Breaks for me this point. Not that talking about the first time I saw her, knowing who the killer was, I didn't really, but like watching it again, I'm like, oh, this is obvious who it is right now. And but then you have the ending where you find out why, which I like that part. That adds to it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Now just wandering through the tunnels.
So this is probably going to sound weird coming from me, but like I did this several times growing up, watching these movies where, I was never of an age where even if these people were regular people and not actors, that I could be romantically linked to them. But watching these old movies and seeing what they look like when they were younger, Paul Kelman was one that I had a big crush on growing up watching this movie. Oh gosh, John Amplas was another one.
Martin.
Yeah, in Martin, I had the biggest crush on him. And when I met John Amplas, I told him that story about that. And I bet Steve was standing back there just rolling his eyes like, I can't believe she's him. But he was very gracious about it. He was like, "Oh, that's so sweet," But there's just certain people over time that that I felt that way about. Just it wasn't like, "Oh, I'm going to grow up and marry these people," but just kind of like I had a movie crush on them.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys ever felt that way about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Women
I love she keeps pushing her ahead. Like, here, go in front of me. Go in front of me. And she gets killed. Well, that's great.
I couldn't understand with this film as well why they didn't make, we'll come on to the ending a bit. Like, why they didn't make a sequel, or the director didn't really make much after this. Made some TV films, if I remember rightly, but.
Well, I know that I watched. I kind of like there was a panel in Tampa when they had this convention, and that was like for the 30th anniversary or 35th anniversary of My Bloody Valentine, and there were several people, including Alf Humphreys, who was sadly he was sick at the time with brain cancer, and he did not know that he had brain cancer.
Yeah.
I think they thought it was dementia, like the early stages of dementia, which you can clearly see in that panel that he's having some issues. But when they did ask George Mihalka about why a sequel was never made, like within close proximity to this one. And he gave some reasons. He said one reason was the producers went on to do other things. The
Yeah.
writer of this passed away, I think, maybe just after they finished filming. And the other thing was Paramount, I guess, felt like they'd been burned by this movie, but you know, Paramount acts shitty about half the horror movies that they put out. But those were like three reasons.
I don't think this was as successful in the box office as they thought it was going to be either.
No. Yeah, it's surprising given the crap that did get sequels. I mean, literally the crap, the absolute crap that got sequels. It is surprising they wouldn't give this a sequel because like some movies they just like they get like 5 sequels and it's amazing they made one movie out of it, you know. But
yeah,
I guess
it's
that's
like
the business.
The Burning's another one as well. I'm glad in a way, like part of me is glad in a way that they didn't, but in a way, part of me like, oh, I wish they did. You know, just see a different kind of angle they would have took. But like these films as well, it's like The Thing from 1982, and they seem to, when they come out, they get a lukewarm reaction, and then over time, through the internet, through all the fans and everything, they just grow and grow and grow. And now this one's regarded as probably one of the best slashers ever made.
Yeah.
But funny enough, it wasn't regarded like that when it first came out.
I love the slow swings. They're like, okay.
I bet Sarah wishes she never wore that white dress to a Valentine's Day party now.
She wasn't expected to be running around in the,
She was expecting
in the
to
mine
get
and fight for her life. But
I bet this was really hell to like film all this, underground and all that. So
it was a real working mine. It was no sets. It was
exactly. Yeah.
Did you guys hear the story that George Mihalka told about how the mine was all dirty and stuff whenever they first looked at it? This will be perfect. And all the people that lived in the town fixed it up and made it, cleaned it up. And they went back and they were getting ready to film. It's like, oh my gosh, what happened to this? It was perfect. And you guys cleaned it up. But George Mihalka said they really didn't have the heart to say to these poor people, oh my God, what did you do to the mine we were going to film in? Why did you do this?
It's kind of a perfect setting for a horror film as well, you know.
Yeah, it's hard to make something lit that's supposed to be dark. That's a technical. Just working on movies just a brief bit, like with friends, that's fucking hard to do. Like, it's like, so I give them that. Just doing this is brilliant because
it must have been hard to do, like you say.
Yeah, because there's no natural light in the mine. So I mean, they had to go from the source stuff and then lighting it also on top of the source because you don't want to look like there's some mystical light coming from nowhere. It just makes no sense. And well, even in movies where they light a candle and it's like so bright, I'm like, candles don't lighten up the room that much. Or flashlights where it like lightens up the whole room. A flashlight does not work like that. It's just,
or like Cruel Jaws.
Suspend. What?
It's like Cruel Jaws, where it's like they're filming like it's like a day scene, but it's like night, and then it's like the lighting is always really odd, like they put a blue filter on it because they couldn't shoot at night. It's oh god.
So here it's revealed that Axel's father was killed and he saw everything. So he had time capsule crazy that once it was opened up, he remembered and he went crazy. I guess I don't know.
And it's
I don't know if that's
surprising how
real
many
mental illness, if
slashers.
that's how it works, but
Yeah, it's surprising how many slashers do the old childhood trauma thing. There's a hell of a lot of them, that do that.
Mm-hmm.
happy birthday
So,
to me.
how many people know that Don Franks had the guy that's playing Chief Newbie had really long hair? He was like a hippie like dude.
Makes
And
sense.
that's a wig. That's a wig
Oh.
that he has on.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Now I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
Actually, George Mahalka said when they met him, when Don Franks got off the plane, he had this really long ponytail and he was barefoot. And the first thing he said to George Mahalka, he said, "Don't worry about it. I've got the greatest wig ever."
Yeah, I didn't even notice until now you said it. I was like, oh, okay. It's definitely not a Robin Tunney wig from The Craft. That's not
Right, exactly. Or a Jamie Lee Curtis wig from Halloween 2.
I mean, they weren't even trying with that. I mean,
Man.
Okay, we're coming up on the end credits here shortly.
by the way,
This is
Axel didn't wait 127 days, by the way.
This has got to be one of the greatest bone-chilling endings to a movie that I believe that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily this part here. It's right when the credits start to roll.
Do you think this is where Saw got the idea for the first film?
Maybe, but they didn't pull it off nearly as well.
No, not by a long way.
He ain't no James Franco. That's for sure. Nobody is, I hope.
It's kind of gruesome when you think about it. If you get to the point where you would be forced into that decision.
Yeah.
This whole, this last part on up until the maniacal laughter at the end, right before the song starts. And this is a great song too. That's something else I think that the Canadians did really well with their horror films, is a lot of them had these great songs that basically told the story of the movie. Prom Night did that.
Yeah.
Phantom of the Mall.
Yeah, right.
One that comes to mind.
Music, and then on Joe Bob they played it. I was like, oh, this is the story of the Phantom.
Right, exactly.
The one that comes to mind is Madman.
Yeah,
you got
Madman.
the end credits of Madman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, did
That's
you guys enjoy? Did you enjoy watching My Bloody Valentine again?
Definitely.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I'm glad that I had you three guys on here with me, because damn Uncle Bill and damn CK, they didn't ever show up. Nobody saw them in the chat, did they?
I can't see the chat from my phone.
I didn't see them, at least. I don't think so.
I didn't. We have King Gore talking. I don't know who that is, but that's a new one.
Oh, he's a cool guy on YouTube. He's a nice guy, he is.
You're talking about crushes earlier. The only crush I remember as a kid was like the Nitro Girls. Watching wrestling, that was like a teenage thing, right? But that's it. I don't know. I can't think.
I didn't want to embarrass you guys in here, but it's probably, I would imagine that any of your crushes that you have had would be,
except Kimberly. I didn't. She was annoying.
Oh, I don't know.
Because she was DDP's girlfriend at the time, and she was like the lead dancer, I guess.
True.
Well, am I totally off base with this, guys? But would you say that your crushes, at least when you got to teenage years, we don't want to sound too strange here, would be more sexual in nature than just like, just like with me and the guys that I saw, a lot of times I was too young to even be thinking about any kind of sexual thoughts. But when John said the teenage years, when the guys hit puberty and they start, when that hits, like I just listened to Steve talk about when he was younger, and it's like, yeah, oh my God, so and so was a goddess. I was, he talks about Edwidge Finette that way. He talks about Rosalba Neary that way. He just thought they were fantastic, and Darren might have felt that way, in his years.
I think Edwidge Finesse is probably one of the best looking women ever to grace the planet.
Steve does too.
Barbara Boucher is another one I really like.
Boucher, yeah, exactly.
But talking of being younger, I can remember that scene in Trading Places with Jamie Lee Curtis. That sort of got my attention.
I bet it is.
And I think I was at the right age as well. So, yeah.
But like I said, I didn't want to like embarrass you guys or make you feel uncomfortable or have John's wife come back from her trip and it's like Dale was talking about all kinds of sex stuff. And
that's like the only thing I can think of is like wrestling, like definitely that era. Tori Wilson for sure. Yeah, like Nitro Girls, like that era. Because that's, I don't know. Movies, I never really, I guess I didn't really have anyone I thought of him. I mean, there were obviously pretty girls in movies, but it never, that was.
I think with like the slasher films, you had sort of Brink Stevens and you had the Scream Queens I used to like. Used to get naked a lot, didn't they? So, yeah, ideal for like a teenage boy.
Quigley, Brink Stevens.
Yeah, Linnea Quigley after Savage
young
Streets.
Linnea Quigley, yes.
Yeah, Michelle Bauer. All those ladies.
Michelle Bauer, yeah.
Heather Langenkamp was like, she did that show Just the 10 of Us. She's supposed to be a teenager, but she wasn't. But I was like, she looks so good. Like, there were a couple episodes where her and her sisters were in a music group or whatever, and she was in these low cut, and she was like, because she's like the girl next door, but she's really, up until a certain point, I heard people saying that she got older. Well, of course she got older, and she's not the same, but I think she looked really pretty up until, she looked really good.
Yeah, I used to like Amy Steele a lot, and La Pac Lincoln, is it, from Part 7, the blonde. But yeah, I think it's just normal to have crushes on these film stars,
And I have even said, like I don't think of them in a sexual nature, but I will say this woman or that woman, I'll agree with Steve on some of them. Yeah, they look good. I'm not gonna, and Steve says like about Edwidge Finette when she was in Hostel 2, I believe. He said she still looked good.
Yeah.
At that point in time, and I said, well, I'm not gonna, say she didn't. It's just that, when you're married to somebody, when you're married to a woman, and all you can talk about is all these old movie stars, and sometimes your wife feels like you don't give her the time of day, that gets old. It gets old real quick. And I feel like that, unfortunately, that's what Steve does a lot of times. I want to tell him, you're like, are you stuck in this movie world where all the women look perfect because they have somebody to do their hair, their makeup, their clothes, everything? And real women can clean up and look good. But we want to wear sweatpants when we're around the house, and we don't always want to wear makeup, and we don't always want to have our hair just so. And so I always tell him he needs to separate himself a little bit from the movie women, and I think he has the issue doing that.
I think one of the more recent ones I like is Anya Taylor-Joy, who John mentioned earlier.
Oh, yeah.
I think she's stunning. She's just,
I think she was better looking when she had a little bit more weight on her, like in The Witch.
Yeah, she is going.
The Witch. Now she's just She's too skinny.
Yeah. Yeah, I did notice that. She's a little
Her
bit
face
too
looks
skinny.
so different because it's a lot
Yeah.
thinner. It's very pointed.
Yeah, I don't know why women do that. It gets to a point where they look, even anorexic type of thing.
Yeah.
I think it's just
and
like they get pushed by the studio. Well, I don't know the studio. It's just they get pushed. I just think that whole mentality of like you got to be super thin, being an actor. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they see what we see as well on the screen. They like whether it's like body dysmorphia or something, that because you just know when a don't want to be sexist or anything, when a lady is too thin or but she looked perfect in the Witch. Maybe I've got to watch what I say. Maybe she was a little young, but
Well,
I'll have to check that out now.
From a woman's perspective, I want to know what happened to Millie Bobby Brown. What the hell happened to her? Because
Stranger Things.
Yeah. She looked so. She looked attractive early on. She's definitely playing a younger character than she actually is when she's in Stranger Things.
She's too young for me.
I saw earlier pictures of her, like when Stranger Things first got popular, and they were showing her and the other people that played the kids in that. And I was like, she's a very pretty girl. And then I saw some later pictures, and I'm like, what in the hell happened? She looks like she's drugged up and stuff. Did anybody else see those pictures where she just and I'm like, what happened to her?
What I didn't like about it was like she doesn't look as nice with blonde hair at all. It just doesn't seem to suit her.
Yeah.
But again, she's really. I don't even think she's 20.
She's 18.
Oh my God!
Let her grow into herself before we start judging her.
I didn't even know she was 18. I thought I guess I forget how they're young. They're older. I thought she may be like 15. But wow, yeah, didn't even know that.
Yeah, those kids are literally growing up before our eyes on that show.
You go through a lot of changes when you're that young, and to you're in your late, even your mid-30s. You're still going physically. You're not looking exactly,
I think Sadie Sink is a little bit older than her. I think she obviously in Stranger Things. But yeah,
Texas said he had a crush on Caroline Monroe in the 70s. Now,
I was thinking of her too. Yeah,
I probably told this story about Steve and his Caroline Monroe story before, but I'll tell it again real quick here. He told me that years and years ago, I believe Caroline Monroe came to Wild and Woolly, the video store in Louisville, and she was signing posters and different things. And Steve loves Caroline Monroe, but he was so scared to go meet her that he stayed at home rather than going over to Wild and Woolly and getting to meet Caroline Monroe and having her sign something. I said, Steve, why? When are you going to ever get another chance for Caroline Monroe to come to Louisville? I don't see her coming to Louisville now.
Do you think Steve will ever go and meet Dario Argento's daughter, Asia? Because I know he's,
I mean, if he could get a chance, I think he would at this point.
Take a few gummies before maybe and
exactly
stand in line.
Because he loves Argento. He has for a lot of years. He absolutely. Now I
don't know how to feel about her, honestly. I have mixed feelings.
I think it looks like again. Don't want to be sexist or anything, but I think
just her everything about
just
her
gone downhill a little bit. I thought she was absolutely stunning up until maybe 10 years ago, but then she just every time you see her now, she's just smoking. She looks like crap.
I think Steve
let herself go.
Mention that he, Steve really is not a fan of smoking, and especially women smoking. I said, what do you think about like Edwidge Fenech smoking in those old movies she was in? He said, well, I don't like it, but they did it back then a lot.
I like Fiore Argento better than Asia.
I do now. I never used to.
In Demons and Phenomena, I like her. I think she's prettier. They're both pretty, but I think she's like more attractive. I don't know.
If you have a look on Facebook now, she's infinitely better attractive than Asia now, for sure. It's not even close. And I'm got a massive crush on Asia Argento, in the past.
I don't know what Steve was showing me or what he was watching that one time, and this has been several years ago, and Darren may have seen it. Asia Argento was doing this thing where she was either filming herself doing different things, or she was having somebody follow her around and filming her. She looked drugged out of her mind, that complete, whatever that was, documentary, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what in the world is wrong with this girl? And she looked like that early on.
She's got a lot of weird shit, like just her. I don't know. I just about her, like the whole, like the Me Too, and then like the shit that she did with that guy who was like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know her, but I just don't know how to feel about her. Every time I don't like her as an actress, but whenever I see her, I just think like, ugh, I don't know. There's just too many things, because you never know what's true, but you just read these things and you're like, ugh,
Yeah, I don't know. Speaking of the whole Me Too thing, I told Steve, I said, I don't understand this. It's like, I'm not saying that these people that somebody like Harvey Weinstein didn't make sexual advances towards people, or some of these other guys that have been accused of it in Hollywood of doing these things. But could it really be all of these guys that are doing this stuff? Or are people just jumping on the bandwagon and saying, oh, yeah, so-and-so sexually molested me. They raped me. And it just keeps going on and on and on, where we don't know what to believe.
Well, like with her, I believe horrible things happen to her.
Right.
And I totally believe that those people are awful. But with her, it's the whole thing of like the shit that came out about her.
Yeah.
And she acted like, oh, that's not true. And I'm like, there's a fucking double standard there. Like you can't point a finger and not get a finger pointed back if it's true,
The thing is with that old case with that boy, like he come out and he basically said she gave him a blowjob and she rode the fuck out of him, and he claimed £1 million out of her. I'd fucking pay £1 million for her to do that to me, Right. So certainly, at the time, but yeah, I found that quite funny. But wasn't she going out with that French guy? And he committed suicide as well. So it was all.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of dark stuff happened around her for sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, TJ. Sorry.
That's okay. I don't need to know that much about these people's lives.
Oh right, sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm just it's out there on the internet and everything like that. It's just that like the whole point of you don't know the sides of it. You only know what people say, and we're not seeing the physical proof. We're just hearing what people said happened, and we're not seeing transcripts from a court case. We're just seeing someone's opinion in a lot of these cases. And
well, exactly.
But I think with Harvey Weinstein, enough people, and Joss Whedon too. It's like you obviously know so many people have said stuff.
Oh
and
yeah, for sure.
More people are coming out too that are finally like, oh, now I can say something because other people are saying it. Like Sarah Michelle Gellar, she's the last person I heard say anything bad about Joss Whedon, and now she's being diplomatic about it. She's not spouting every little thing, but she's saying, yeah, I believe these people, and I've experienced stuff too. And these other shows like Grey's Anatomy, the Ellen Pompeo, she was like, the first 10 years of that show, it was just behind the scenes were crazy. That's why probably a lot of people left that show and didn't want to come back, is because the whole whatever
so
politics and stuff
so many people have been accused by now. It's like I can't like anybody in Hollywood now because they've been accused of rape or something. It's like, why? Who can you like now?
The thing is, I can get why the whole men against women thing for sure. But with the Asia Argento case, she didn't stand there with a gun to this boy's head. He was, he was 19, I think, maybe 20. So, I don't see why he's gone running, to get just blatantly just to make money out of her, which I think is wrong. So I like John said, there's probably two sides to every story, but personally, I don't think she was, in the wrong at all. He was of legal age, and she didn't put a gun to his head. So,
right.
he could have walked away. He could have got up and just walked away and said no.
Oh, and I bet he enjoyed every minute of it.
Exactly. But to go and make money from her as well, I think is wrong.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot of that's very obvious, like obviously like Cosby, Weinstein, those are like fucking scumbags, obviously. But like there's a lot of it that's very like I don't know. It's like there was so much dirt getting piled on that a lot of unfortunately there were people like Chris Hardwick and like who was it? There was a few people like that like stuff came out and then it was like, oh no, that actually never happened. And it's just people believed it because of like one thing. And it's like you said, you don't know the whole thing, so one little thing, and then finally someone is like, okay, that didn't happen, and then no one knows that because they don't hear the explanation, and then people still think, oh, they're sleazeballs. So it's kind of a weird thing because you have real like sleazeball fucking like rapists and horrible people, and then you have people who weren't, but for some reason some crazy person lumped them into that. So that's I guess that's just media though, right? Something snowballs and then everybody jumps on it, and
Well, John, you mentioned Cosby. I'm in a quandary about Cosby because I grew up watching that guy on the Cosby Show, and I'm sorry, but I still love the Cosby Show. I still love that show, but I always feel conflicted now.
Yeah.
When I catch myself watching it. I mean, I have the whole freaking series on DVDs. I mean, I could pull those out and watch them anytime, but I feel guilty when I watch it because Steve will come into the room and he'll see me watching an episode, and laughing along with it. There Danny is watching that rapist again, and it just makes me feel like this big, It's like I can't. My childhood this is my childhood here,
Yeah, but it's like where do you draw the line with Jeepers Creepers as well? Knowing, and Clown House, what went on there. Where do you draw the line? For me, I sort of push it to one side and I enjoy the movie for what it is. I get it, why people won't watch them, I do get it. And everyone's got a choice. But to me, I separate the art from the artist, so to speak. Roman Polanski's another one. I do enjoy his films. I do enjoy Repulsion a lot. And
Repulsion's great.
Yeah, so it's where you draw the line. And again, like not for the sexual thing, but you've got what went on with the Twilight Zone, the movie. Do you stop watching American Werewolf in London just because of that? I don't agree.
Do you hate John Landis for the end of time?
Exactly. I think it was a scumbag what he did. I think we've mentioned this before. We've talked about this before, but it doesn't stop me if I want to watch, any of his films. I carry on as normal.
Right. I think you made a very good point, Darren, that you do have to separate the actual art from the person that created it. If we didn't, everybody would be hating everything because I'm sure there is something. Maybe not as bad as what we're talking about right now, but you could dig up something on anybody if you.
Absolutely, yeah. If you dig enough, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you definitely have to have some kind of separation there.
Yeah, it's hard with that is kind of hard sometimes, but I agree. You gotta kind of put that line at a certain point because. Even like wrestling, like TJ, you may get this, but like even like I love Chris Benoit as a wrestler. I think he's amazing. Now as a human being, horrible. Like I don't try to make sense of it, but like I kind of in my mind just think, okay, it's like I'm watching a performance and I'm not watching a personal life, right? So it's hard, but
Very hard. Oh, look, Uncle Rad's in here.
Oh, sure. Now he shows up.
Yeah, now Uncle Rad shows up and says, "Are you a dark dreamer, Dana?" I am. I don't know. It depends on the day, Uncle Rad, whether I'm a dark dreamer. And poor Afro is wanting a timestamp for the movie.
Oh,
Zero.
shit.
We're at 0.00.
Well, unfortunately, Afro, we have finished the movie and we're just kind of like chatting after the movie. And I'm going to kill my dogs if they don't stop barking back there. Because Steve's probably getting pissed because he's probably went to lay down now.
Has he watched the film for tomorrow, Dana? Case of the Bloody Iris?
I think he was going to go in the bedroom and watch it. We didn't get to watch it together because
Right, okay.
Yeah, I'm probably going to watch it after I get off of here. So I'll be, I won't sound like I'm talking out of the side of my mouth tomorrow when we talk about it.
Yeah,
But
I'm looking forward to that.
it might be tomorrow for you. Is it tomorrow for you already, Dan?
It's coming up 3 a.m., so yeah.
Holy crap.
It's all right. Sunday and it's tomorrow, so I can just have a lay in.
Every time Darren tells me that, like it's 3 a.m., it's 2 a.m., it's like hit me in the face with cold water. It's like, oh my
I found out something last night I didn't know until I read it. The UK only has like 5 hours of sunlight or something like that.
In the
Is that a
winter,
thing?
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Let me think. No, not quite 5, but yeah.
Not even 5. Okay.
Damn.
No, about to about 6 or 7 maybe in the
Okay.
winter.
wow.
I think you're talking about Iceland and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't. It said UK, but it might have been. I don't know.
Oh right, yeah. I know Norway and places like that don't have
I'm
much
trying to
light.
figure out what Uncle Rat is talking about. What am I totally off base here? What is
He's talking about the vinegar syndrome stuff. There was like the sale. There was some category.
They did the porn version of last night or whatever that was.
Yeah, I've seen that. I was expecting to pick up a few titles and then it's just all porn.
Yeah, I
And
had nothing to
massage
contribute, so I
parlor
didn't watch
murders.
it all the way through.
And I asked Steve.
Oops.
Whoops, something fell. I asked Steve.
There goes that electronic equipment. Anyway.
What he wanted for Valentine's Day, because I said, you need to tell me something. I mean, tell me a movie or something so I can go ahead and order it for you. And when he was doing his stream a little bit earlier, he said that I could get him. What was the body? Darren, were you in his stream? He was talking about body something.
Body.
Girls or something. I don't know. It was something. And I said, well, if you want it, I'll get it for you. I mean, I don't want to watch it, but
Is that a porn? Is that porn?
I think it pretty much is.
Yeah, there's a double feature, I think. Porn double feature.
Ooh.
But
I wonder what the lifespan is of those companies. I'm just starting to think, like, how long can that gimmick go on?
Yeah.
Like those movies, it's like there's got to be a wall, like a point where that just hits a wall, Because at least like Kino and Arrow and Synapse and like all those, they're putting out really good movies. But like Vinegar and Severin, like it's like one every 5 or 6 that's good, and then it's just a lot of like, I don't know. That's just my opinion. I just don't. I think that's going to eventually just stop,
Speaking of Arrow, though, Darren, I wanted to ask you, like Steve told me he thought it was a British company that was putting this out. A little while ago, he told me that a 4K of Happy Hell Night was coming out. And y'all feel free to laugh at me for being excited over Happy Hell Night 4K. But have you heard anything about Arrow or 88 Films or any of those?
I have the 88 Films Blu-ray of it, but I've not used it for 4K.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean to say that it's not happening.
I forgot about this movie. I remember hearing about this.
Happy Hell Night?
Yeah.
Are there any releases, upcoming releases, any of you guys looking forward to? Because I can't think of any that I'm
looking forward to the Final Exam 4K. I mean, feel free to laugh at me, but Dark Force Entertainment's putting it out, I know. but you know I'm gonna get it.
I'm only laughing because
got-
when the guys give you shit about it, Dana. That's all I'm laughing at.
I think with
Uncle
Final
Bill CK
Exam,
mentions it.
I'm a big fan, like Dana, of Final Exam. I've got like the 2 DVD versions. I bought the second one just because it had like a different commentary track on it. But I think I'm good to go with them too. I don't know what the 4K extras will be. That would be possibly, I might get it if there's
That
any
might be
extras.
a turning point for you, Darren.
Yeah, but yeah, it depends with these companies now. You know, give us something. Screen Factory are not giving nothing new, really, are they, with their 4K releases, or very little.
They're kind of just rehashing, you know.
And that's just bullshit to me. I'm 4K now. I've got the player and everything, but I find that hard to justify paying 30, 40 pounds just to get a better, clearer version of something.
I agree.
I think it's ludicrous. I think, you know, people got too much money on their hands, you know, to do that. Honestly, I get it for a couple of titles. Go on, sorry.
I was gonna say, I'm the only thing I'm looking forward to really is the Martin 4K.
Martin 4K,
I'm
yeah.
to see.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that in so long. I'm just kind of. I feel like it'll be like watching it new. I'm just really curious to see how that looks.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. Yeah. And the City of the Living Dead, that new release that's coming out in March. And
see, I can see why you would, you know, I would even be thinking about getting that, because I think that has got a load of new extras as well, but it's got like a different, you know, 4K transfer as well, I believe, than the Blu-ray. So yeah, you know, odd titles, certain different titles I can get my head around, but when people are just buying everything for the sake of it.
Uncle
Same
Ray
like-
telling me to shut my ass about Final Exam. Well, I'll tell you, Uncle Ray, my ass is officially shut, but my mouth will never shut. It will go on and on and on.
Did you watch them do the Nightmare on Elm Street Watchalong? Did you guys watch that?
Yeah.
Uncle Bill and
I
CK did that.
part of it. I haven't finished it up though.
Yeah, I caught that the next day.
I mean, I know most of the trivia, but it was nice. It was funny to hear them talk about it. But then, I don't think Heather Langenkamp is that horrible of an actor as they think she is.
Yeah, I disagreed with that.
I mean, there's certain parts where I'm like, there's the one where she's in the after Tina's killed and she's like, Tina doesn't want to sleep alone. That scene, that's a little iffy about her acting, but I think a lot of the other stuff is fine. And then,
I don't know. I think I'm with the Dead Pit Boys on that one.
you think she was like she was the worst actor ever
well,
in that movie?
I think, and she's only what 19.
She's not worse than the mother.
She was like, yeah,
Not,
she was like 19.
She's young. I mean, I don't know.
like
I don't
the
mind
woman
it.
who plays the mother in that film is horrendous. She's just terrible.
And
But,
she was nominated for an Oscar, so who knows what we know? We don't know anything that, you know, I mean, in comparison to
I would have given her a Razzie.
Ronnie Blakely, yeah.
yeah, she was at Nashville. I think that was she did that movie and she was nominated for an Oscar. And
Really?
she was in
Bloody
she was in some 70s, a lot of 70s things. And
I will
but I can
agree.
see her acting that's another thing. Her acting is sort of like that druggy, like even Margot Kidder. She's got sort of like she's always stoned type of, but she's okay at acting. I mean, you know.
yeah.
Ronnie Blakely seemed like she was sleepwalking through Nightmare.
That's what I mean. She was on something.
Yeah.
Then again, that might have been because the movie it's about nightmares, so she could have been like that whole ending scene. That was deliberately her being over the top. I mean, she's over the top during the whole. She's a very over the top person. I'm not gonna lie and say she's not, but that end scene, she's just like, oh, she's very Stepford wife to the nth degree. She's like, oh, you'd burn off soon if it wasn't so bright.
And what is that outfit?
You know,
What is that outfit she's got on?
Oh yeah.
Looks like a mental patient outfit or something.
I think
she's in her
when I
nightgown,
first-
I guess. I don't know. Well, they're
she's
dressing
drinking.
Heather Langenkamp like she's 12 in that scene. I mean, with the shorts and the jumpsuit and the whatever the jumpsuit.
Well, she's drinking so much in the movie that I just kind of always thought
She's
an alcoholic, but
yeah,
that's why she's so like everything's fine, go to sleep, you know, like.
I think
I think the director.
she does fine with the whole talking about the Freddy thing. I think that she was
Yeah.
very creepy.
That
I mean, that was what the
was
scene was
the
supposed to be. So I mean,
I think Wes Craven knew early on what he was getting with her, and so they sort of went with it, you know, and sort of put her over this over the top character towards the end with the way she plays it. And I think they knew they weren't going to get a decent performance out of her, to be honest. But
You know, Ronnie Blakely was in I believe, a Tales from the Dark Side.
yeah, the one where she's a psychic. Is that the one? No,
that
was
Forest X and Madam X thing where she would
that's right.
go.
No, it was like the machines. They were like a fortune telling. Yeah. I was thinking of the other one with the cards, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
So when are we gonna do that Tales from the Dark Side talk? When are we gonna do that?
Oh yeah, we need to do that. I'm gonna seriously plan on that. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up again, TJ, because the older I get, things slip in.
Yeah.
So, yes, I definitely do want to do that still yet. And you know, if anybody else wants to join me and TJ when we do discussions on that, because I wanted to basically do it like I did the Twilight Zone from the 80s, where we briefly discuss each of the episodes, trying to give a breakdown of them.
that's a blind spot for me. I need to watch a few of them, I think.
Tales from the Dark Side.
It's a good show.
Watch the good ones. Don't watch the bad ones. Because there's some that aren't great, and there's some that are really good, and there's a lot of middle of the road.
Yeah, it's like everything, I suppose. You've got to do a bit of research and find out which are the best ones.
But it's a nice who's who of genre people. There's a lot of, like you said, Ronnie Blakely's in it. No, I can't think of anybody else. Yeah, of course not.
Dorothy Lyman.
A lot of sitcom people are in it. The mother from Just a Ten of Us. She's in an episode. There's a couple of Stephen King stories that they adapted. There's the sister show Monsters, which was basically more Tales from the Dark Side, but they were emphasizing more monsters. There's a good one with Adrienne Barbeau where she's like a witch. That's a really good one I like.
The gargoyle one.
Yeah, with her little son and the creature wants to possess him or whatever, which I think is kind of like Insidious type of story there. The demon that wants a little kid. I wonder if they the writer of that saw that episode when he was young and is like, oh, maybe I should make a movie about that. But Tales from the Dark Side has a lot of good. Last Car I like a lot.
Last Car is good. Anniversary Dinner is one I want to talk about again. That one is just fantastic. Fantastically creepy too.
In the premiere episode, I really like George Romero's. That's the only one I think he directed.
What are you guys going to do? Are you going to break it down episode by episode, or are you just going to pick out the best ones?
Well, I think we'll try to break it down episode by episode, but we're not going to talk for an hour about every episode because there would be no way we could get.
How many seasons of that did they do then? I thought they didn't.
Or four,
maybe three.
That's going to be a long series, eh?
Yeah, it'll be longer than the Twilight Zone from the 80s because Tales from the Dark Side went on. Actually, truth be told, Tales from the Dark Side went on longer than it should have. And, I'm sure TJ will be with me on some of those later episodes that came out right before the series went off the air. Oh, A Case of the Stubborns is another favorite episode for me. Remember that one, TJ?
Yep. There's a couple of good ones in the last season. There's Hush with the little kid makes the vacuum cleaner. That one's kind of the ending to that's like a kind of a shocking ending. You wouldn't think it was going to end like that.
Hungry, was that one that was later?
Yeah, that was the final. That was the one where the woman wants to lose weight and she gets these special glasses and hearing aid, and it's kind of and there's another one that in the final season I like. There's one with Pat Tallman in the last season. Patricia Tallman.
Yes.
Then there's the one about the gangster where the gangster had killed like one of his partners, and then the partner's ghost comes back. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there are a few in the last season where you're like, yeah.
And I love seeing these people from sitcoms and stuff like that. It's like, oh, that person's in this one, that person's in this one, and it's just cool to the one Stephen King story. Well, actually, I like both of them because
Sorry, right number, was that one of them?
Sorry, Right Number was awesome, and Word Processor of the Gods was also
right.
awesome.
That was yeah.
Bruce
That was
Davis.
good.
Yeah.
And then I like some of the goofy ones. There was the one, The Trouble with Mary Jane. I thought that was funny with Phyllis Diller and this actress who has been in stuff, but she played Mary Jane. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's Tanya Fenimore.
Okay, someone was talking about that. Was it with the Debbie guys?
Me and Uncle Bill were talking about that during the Valentine's Day extra credit.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's the one with the mannequin who's a Medusa.
Oh yeah.
That's a good one.
Oh man. TJ, this just talking about this is
we're doing the stream now.
Oh man, everybody be asleep before
we're just naming off the episodes we like.
I talked to the guy who was well, I think we released I ended up running into Mick Strawn, who was like a backstage guy. He worked on the Freddy movies and Dark Side, and we had him on our podcast, one of the ones I do with some guys, and he was cool. He didn't talk about Tales from the Dark Side, but he worked on that. But he did talk about Tobe Hooper on Freddy's Nightmares, because he said he was like yeah, Toby was like very stoned, and he said it took him like 40 minutes to say like 5 sentences apparently. And I was like laughing, and I was just like, wow, okay. But he's an interesting guy. But he was talking about Tales from the Dark Side. I was looking at he worked on like art direction on it or something. I don't know.
Okay,
but
that's cool.
He's a nice guy. He lives in Nashville, I guess. So I didn't realize he was because we went to a Nightmare on Elm Street 4 screening, and he was there, and Lisa Wilcox, and we just
I remember when you were talking about that, John.
Yeah, it was kind of random, and we were just like, "Do you want to be on a podcast?" And they were like, "Sure." And I was like, "Oh fuck, okay." Lisa Wilcox didn't. She didn't care to. I think she wanted money, probably. But
well, so sorry, you can't always get money for everything.
I don't expect people to say yes to that stuff. I asked some. I actually messaged Dario Argento on Instagram in Italian. I did a fucking Google Translate both ways, and I sent him this long thing because we're doing a show on Bird with the Crystal Plumage, and I just thought, why not? He didn't even read it. I mean, I knew he wouldn't. I just go for it just for the why not, you know? I mean,
well, back when I was still doing the blood type fanzine, I wanted to do an Italian horror issue, and I was like, who am I gonna find Italian wise that actually speaks some English or speaks enough English that I can correspond with them? And this was in the early days, so I didn't even think about doing a translation like both ways like John did. So I did get in touch with Giovanni Lombardo Radice and good old John Morgan. And he was the sweetest guy. And he just gave me so much information. And like, you could tell that some of these memories that he had were painful memories, just like working on Cannibal Ferox, which was a terrible time for him. And of course, he hated the director. And
the thing is, if you get him talking on that, like Umberto Lenzi, he absolutely hates him. He'll talk to you for hours. But he's a guy. Funny enough, I didn't want to cut you off here, Dina. But he's a guy that I would imagine if you got in contact with him now on Facebook, he would be up for doing one of these chats. He's very affable, really nice to get on with.
He was sweet as could be to me, and he would, all the email correspondence that we had back and forth, he would sign every one of them, Love Giovanni.
Yeah, he's really nice guy. Yeah.
And the shameful thing is, I don't even know if I still have all that correspondence somewhere. I hope that I do. I definitely have the interview, the questions and his answers.
You should definitely try and get him on and maybe do like a bit of a retrospective of his films and that, because like I said, I'm sure he would do it. He seems, just down to earth.
I wish that I had gotten to meet him in person back when he was actually making the rounds in the States.
Yeah.
At certain horror conventions. I think Steve may have met him or been in close proximity to him. But Steve was able to meet a lot of those guys. I think mainly at Cinema Wasteland, which I know how a lot of people feel about the Cinema Wasteland conventions, but at least they were able, at least in the early days of those conventions, they were able to get a lot of those Italian people, or not necessarily all Italian people, but, if British people were in some of these Italian films, they were able to get a whole bunch of them. Steve was able to meet a lot of people from Zombie.
Didn't he meet Catriona McCall as well from Haste by the Cemetery and Beyond?
Actually, Steve and I think he had already met Catriona McCall before we started dating. But then after we were dating, we went to a convention where she was at, and I got to meet her.
Wow. She's nice as well, yeah.
She was super nice, yes. And
I'm a bit gutted that Ruggero Deodato died recently, and he's another one. There's not many. I know I said a couple earlier, but he would have been one I would have, like Cannibal Holocaust for me is one of the best films ever made. House on the Edge of the Park as well. Just
House on the Edge of the Park.
It's just hell of a ride, that film.
That was a film that Giovanni has, like, he actually liked that character that he played. He talked like that was a really well drawn, well thought out character.
I think he actually cried he was crying on Facebook when Deodato died. He thought of, that much of him as a person. Yeah, which I find, really strange in a way, because you think of all the animal violence in Cannibal Holocaust, yet he was moaning about Cannibal Ferox, Umberto Lenzi, with the animal violence maybe in that. So I don't know. That's why I'd love to talk to him. Sorry, go on.
I think what bothered him the most about Cannibal Ferox was the fact that Lindsay kept trying to make Giovanni do you take this knife and you stab this pig.
That's right, yeah.
I think he really did not like that. He was like, basically Giovanni was like, fuck you, dude. You're not making me kill this poor little pig, this poor little defenseless pig on camera. I'm not doing it. And Lindsay just kept pushing him the whole time that movie was made to do certain things. And, he of course thought that was so reprehensible, as we all do, that animal violence. And to repeatedly try to force somebody to do that for your freaking film, I guess that just really turned him off of Lindsay and that entire film.
I don't think anyone's got a good word to say about Umberto Lenzi at all. From all the interviews I've read, and I've done a bit of research, I got his book and that. Just not very well liked. Dario gets a bit of a mix. Argento gets a bit of a mix from the actors and that. But cast ironly, like Umberto Lenzi, there's just no one that liked him at all.
A lot of people don't like or didn't like Fulci when he was alive. Mostly women.
Right, yeah.
There were a few men that didn't, but Giovanni only had nice things to say about Fulci. He said Fulci was nice as could be to him.
What Fulci would do though is early on when he's directing a film, he would kind of test the actor or actresses how much shit they can take, and if you stood back up to him, he kind of give you respect, and he was fine with you for the rest of the film.
Mhm.
But he kind of bullied the other people who didn't speak up to him, and he was that type of person. But great filmmaker.
I've worked for people like that. I've had supervisors that are like that. That they're not necessarily bad people, but
Kind of cowardly, I'd say.
But if they'll throw sarcasm your way,
Yeah.
and then if you come back with your own little bit of sarcasm, they're like, "Oh, okay, I get it. We're cool," you know. But if it bothers you, that just only fuels them, and they'll just keep doing it more and more and more.
It's bullying, basically.
Yeah.
They just don't say it's bullying, but that's just bullying.
Right,
Is all
exactly.
it is. Just fucking with people because you think you can. Fucking with people until you find someone who can't.
Yeah,
just-
Can you imagine? It's like, can you imagine Fulci on a set now with all this
Yeah.
stuff that's going on now? He'd be cancelled in fucking 5 minutes, wouldn't he? You know?
Oh yeah.
Very much of his time.
Now he wasn't aware of how because I always read that when he died, he wasn't really aware of how much of a following he had gathered. Like he thought that he was just like nobody. And then
Yeah.
I don't remember because I read something about that.
He did the last few months before he died, he did go to a Fango convention in New York City, and I think it was one of those ones where they had a blizzard overnight, and he was gobsmacked. So he did see a little bit. He was gobsmacked by how many people, were at his Q&A and all that. I'm glad that he did get to see a little bit, but it was too late by that stage. He had diabetes. He never looked after himself. And it was quite sad the way he went. But I'm glad he did. It might have only been one convention, but he did get to see a little bit. But now he'd have been like Argento. He'd have been a god, I think.
Something else Giovanni told me when I interviewed him was that Fulci was the way he was partly because he'd had so many tragedies in his life.
Yeah.
He didn't go into, complete details, but he did say that things were pretty hard for Fulci. Like early on in his life, even women had treated him badly. I've heard that.
His wife committed suicide. So, a few years after he had this big thing about the church. He had a thing against the church. So he went on and made Don't Torture a Duckling, which is a film very much anti, the church. And yeah, he was a gambling addict. He had so many things, health-wise, he had so many things. I think he had troubles with his daughter as well. I'm not sure if his daughter died. I might be wrong with that one, but yeah, he was quite a sad figure. But then you put him behind the camera and he was a genius. So it's always a way, isn't it?
Exactly. Well, in Argento, I had heard, I think it was Aja that said this early on in an interview, that she remembers early on telling her father that she wanted to be an actress. And one thing he told her was, "You don't want to be an actress. Actresses are shit. Actors and actresses are shit." So you can tell right there that he might have more respect for actors and actresses now, but early on, Argento did not have any respect at all for them. He would put
the thing is,
he had to.
With Argento, the thing, I'm sure you've all seen the Stendhal syndrome, where he actually films his daughter, like 2 rape scenes with his daughter, and I think in Trauma, she's topless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there's questionable, people question whether he's a misogynist and all that going back. But I think that's maybe two of things I find strange about him. But I other stories you just get the women just saying they think he doesn't like women because of the amount of kills in the film. But I think he kills a hell of a lot of men as well, So whether it's justified, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So, guys, this has been like amazingly fun for me, as I say
It's shocking.
Shocking, yeah. Yeah. But I think I'm going to have to get off of here. And I know that Darren's probably feeling like he's feeling it about now, probably.
I'm still going to watch The Case of the Bloody Iris again just to
Yeah,
brush up.
I got to do that. I got to do that too to prepare for tomorrow. And, but I want to thank TJ and John and Darren for being on here with me tonight. It was a fun time. I'm really looking forward to the Tales from the Dark Side streams we're going to have. I got to get those in process. So do you want to do them, TJ, like I did the Twilight Zone from the 80s? Do we want to cover one season and then we might wait a little bit and cover the second season to give us a little bit of time to like give ourselves a refresher on
the shitty box set of the episodes. The ones they'll never make good quality ones ever, but that's all right.
Oh no.
Yeah, because it's all. I have one of the DVDs. It's all 4:3, right? Like,
yeah,
man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, was it Fleischer on one of the shows, the Dead Pick guys? He brought up that they'd have to go through all the film stock and they'd have to re-edit everything and put everything back. They'd have to really redo everything to get the quality of the film. And there's 4 seasons and so many episodes, and no one's gonna want to sit. If someone paid me and I knew how to do that stuff, I would do it. But other than that, I don't think they can find anybody to do that. To go through all the film and then develop all the film and whatever. But if you want to do it that way, that's fine with me.
That's definitely in the works. I'm continuing. There's something about Tarantino. Still got a couple of streams left, I believe, for my dinner with De Palma.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting into some weird areas with De Palma, though.
Is it Black Dahlia? Did he do that movie? The Black Dahlia?
Yeah, and I did cover that one, but I think that may have been the one that I had to take off of YouTube because I said a certain word, and basically CK told me, he messaged me and he said, YouTube doesn't care what context you use it in. They'll take down your channel for stuff like that. So I thought I better get rid of that. So, I mean, it's not gone forever, but it's not on YouTube right now. But yeah, I did cover that one. Wasn't a huge fan of that one either. And I'm not really a huge fan of this old stuff. The really old stuff that De Palma was doing before he was doing things like Dress to Kill and Carrie and Body Double and all the great ones that we talked about. Now I'm kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel here, I think, as far as
I don't envy you with some of the titles you can cover in.
Is it it's like his film school type stuff almost, or just maybe
as somebody said in one of the streams, it's hippie films, which I'm not saying that I'm not a fan of some hippie films, which I actually liked. I actually like Greetings, which has Robert De Niro on it, better than I did Murder a la Maude. I was just, and both of them I think got released in '68. Murder a la Maude, I thought I was really gonna like that one, and that one had one cool murder sequence, and that's all the only good thing I can say about it. And it had William Finley in it, but it was so goofy the way it was filmed. I just couldn't get behind it.
It's kind of like watching Eggshells from Toby Hooper compared to like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I know which one I'd rather watch 10 times in a row.
Right. And so I've got that stuff coming up. I'm going to continue with the watch-alongs that I had originally planned. I think I don't think I've done. See, my brain's failing me, guys. I don't think I did. Did I do X-ray? Does anybody remember if I did X-ray yet?
No, I don't think you did actually.
So we've still got X-ray in the works. Schizoid is still in the works. So X-ray will be the next one I do. I already did My Bloody Valentine.
Mhm.
We did that one tonight. So I've also got Sorority House Massacre and Night School.
Cool.
Oh, cool, yeah.
So if anybody wants to join in on those, feel free.
I wouldn't mind if all being well, you know, when I got a chance to do maybe night school.
Night School, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this was gonna finish up February, but because some of them got pushed back, we're probably gonna go into March with some of these. So anyway, so that's all we got. All these things upcoming. Anybody can join me live on any of these streams. You can join me and TJ live on the Tales from the Dark Side streams as soon as we start those. If you want to get in here and discuss all things Tales from the Dark Side. But it is now 10:33 p.m. and I've got to watch The Case of the Bloody Iris, so I don't sound like a jerk tomorrow not knowing anything about the movie. So I want to thank you guys again for being in here with me. I want to thank everybody in the chat, even Uncle Rad, who was basically in here bad mouthing me the whole time. So anyway, with all that being said, I am going to skedaddle on out of here for the night, and I will see everybody on the flip side. Everybody have a good night, and Darren, you have a good morning, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, likewise.
Later.
I'm going to do some mining, so I'll see you later.
TJ's going to go do some mining. Okay, good night, everybody.